Selectmen'S meeting for Monday, April 24th to order. It's 4 o'clock. Would you please stand and honor America by saying the pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with department updates. Chief, come on down. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Update from the last one. We've done 73 fire calls, 82 EMS calls, 28 service calls, and 5 special details, totaling for 188 for the year. 7 gas furnace inspections, 2 oil burner inspections, 1 wood/pellet stove inspection, and 3 life safeties for a total of 13. Department's Boat 1 has been put in service for the season at Pier 19. Boat 2 will be going out of service shortly and headed to Kimball and Doobie's for its spring maintenance, where they check for any cracks and any maintenance that the boat might need, especially after the heavy use that it had received. Our Utility 1 has been placed back in service for the Department's forestry. Department has updated the skid unit on it as far as the pump that is on that particular unit. We took the pump out of the back of the former Rescue 1. The pump that was on the current forestry truck was 29 years old and was getting so that there wasn't a lot of parts and things for that. But the other pump was a 2001, so it's quite an update. It has electric start and V-twin engine and a lot more pumping capabilities. So that was a great update with that. The retired Rescue 1 is now ready to go back, go out to bid. And
what year is that?
That is a 2002.
And how many miles?
It has 38,600 miles. And that's what it looks like right now.
And the reason for replacing it?
It reached its life expectancy as far as truck-wise of 15 years.
So is it's
And it was updated with a truck that carries more people, more equipment, and more water as far as it goes.
okay. It just seems like the mileage is pretty low.
It is as far as truck-wise. You'll find that a lot of our vehicles, the mileage is low. They do have a lot of idle hours, but it is a diesel. And
Is there an hour meter on it?
there is no hour meter on the 2002. The new vehicles, all the new vehicles have it, but that particular model, no.
Because just for the sake of justification, I think it's important that we have hour meters on everything.
Okay.
I mean, that would just be my suggestion, because just coming in and saying I want a new one doesn't really do it for me. I might do it for a town meeting, but it'd be nice to all be on the same page. So the new truck has 6 passengers?
The new truck has 3 passengers versus 2. The med compartment is inside versus in the back compartment, so we don't have to worry about heating the meds and drugs and stuff that are on that particular truck.
Mm-hmm.
It carries air packs in the passenger compartment, and there's a tremendous amount more room as far as on that. And it carries 75 gallons more water and a bigger
But it's the same chassis size?
Basically the same chassis, besides it's a 4-door versus a 2-door.
And have you mentioned here, should the rescue truck have a minimum bid set? Did you go online and get
We're looking online as far as vehicle-wise to see whether or not, as far as pricing. I haven't seen a lot of pricing as far as like Kelly Blue Book and things like that. Maybe I'm looking in the wrong area, but it doesn't seem like that they cover F-550s, or trucks. Nothing bigger than like a 350 as far as that goes. I would leave that up to the select board of whether or not they wanted to see a minimum bid.
It's
I
an
think
F-550?
It's an F-550.
Okay.
What has your experience been? I know you have a background in trucks and cars.
Well, no, it's not impossible to set a number on a vehicle. Historically, what's the process? Do we just put it out in the paper? And do we set the price or bid?
Usually the vehicle's not worth, they're not, whether it's a used cruiser, the last fire department vehicle we sold was a 1986 one-ton, and it wasn't worth a huge amount of money. But I feel that this truck is worth more than, just giving it to the lowest bidder at like $2,000.
There are two approaches you can take I think with respect to that. You can advertise a minimum bid, which tends to be a target for everybody, okay, or you cannot advertise a minimum bid, and any time that it's advertised for sale, under the law, we have the authority to reject all bids. So if the bids come in too low, we say, hey, this isn't a good deal.
Have you had any, excuse me.
And so I would tend to think that we wouldn't want to put a minimum bid price in the advertisement. Make sure that we adequately reflect the capability of the vehicle and that sort of thing. See where the bids come in. And if they all come in as low balls, then we can look at some other options for getting rid of it.
Have you had any conversations or anyone sought you out?
There's multiple people that have looked at it.
It's a utility vehicle. It's really well constructed. So.
Does that decision need to be made today as far as bid or no bid?
Well, I think we need to establish a price that's fair. So why don't I can inform them what a fair price is, or I'll meet again next week and do it.
Why don't you decide what the fair price is? You have a background in this. Do you have a problem with that?
No, not at all. But I would recommend that we not advertise a minimum price. It's important for us before we sell it that we have an expectation what it's going to bring.
Right. Then maybe the way to do it is I'll bring back whatever research I can come up with to give this board a value.
And
Adam can put it out on the street.
And we'll have it on the agenda for next month, next week, right?
If we're going to put it out without a minimum bid, and we get it out in the papers as soon as possible. Get the process going.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry to interrupt.
The ATV and rescue sled have been updated from the winter tracks back to wheels on both. And just to FYI, we've had several inquiries from other towns in Osprey Valley Mutual Aid and Lakes Region Mutual Aid around the lake in reference to our airboat program. It looks like that there are other towns that are looking to see what it takes to purchase and to equip their departments with that, whether someone's going to give them a boat or their town is looking at purchasing boats. It looks like that there are multiple departments out there looking. Go ahead.
No, sounds good.
I know that there was some concern about that we were the only department that were responding around the lake as far as it goes, so that may cover any of those concerns. A reminder to all that are planning for outside burning permits are now required, whether it's campfire right down to outside burning now that the snow cover is gone. The department is working with several people in town in reference to fire prevention items and trying to get those taken care of.
And can you enlighten us?
In reference to fire prevention items,
Yeah.
one area I have, a garage was looking at putting in a used oil burner furnace and needed further information on that. It was a brand new furnace, but to make sure that they were meeting the requirements for when we went to do an inspection, make sure that that was going to pass. Had an issue with a rental property that has several rental apartments that has smoke detector and CO issues and a few other things that we've been dealing with. And we had an inquiry in reference to a boat storage slash repair shop, looking for further information on that, if one was constructed, what it would needed to meet the fire prevention side of things as far as sprinkler systems or foam systems in that, things along that lines.
Okay, thanks.
As the select board knows, we had a meeting in reference to Stellar on 4/14. I think that there was quite a bit of positive feedback in reference to the review that we had done. One question I have in reference to that, and it was a question that was brought up there, is as far as for future reference or for this, where would the select board like to see the money come from as far as paying for a situation like that? Continue to go out of the different department heads' budgets, or put in the emergency management section, and so that it's where it is a emergency, down the road for the town. We have a $12,000 budget. Obviously, that would wipe it out. But that is something for the future. I know that there was a couple points brought up that it might be good to have it come from emergency management where that was a true emergency as far as in town.
I guess I'd want to look at an itemized list of the expenses. If you wanted to break it up. Personally, I wouldn't want to make a decision to put it one column or another without knowing what it was.
Right.
So if you want to bring that forward, that
Sure.
would be great.
Okay.
And we can figure out how to do it.
And we are currently working with myself and Jim Bean, and I have Chief Shagoury's time. We're working with FEMA and the Emergency Management Department in reference to the cost. It was, I think last time that I knew, we were roughly around $13,000 or $14,000 as far as everything in town. And
was it declared an emergency?
yeah, they're still working on that as far as that goes, to see if the
Because
No,
if it
we've
isn't,
got it now.
I don't think there's anything.
Yeah.
So,
if it's not declared an emergency, then there are no funds that are available. But they were going to get back to us in reference to that, and we have some further paperwork that they were looking for to get back to them. One item that I have in the signature section for you is from Municipal Leasing and Credit Corporation, reference the release of funds for Diamond Ledge Electronics for the backup camera and the radio installation on the new rescue truck. The funds are from the remaining monies for the new rescue truck. and anything that's left over from that, they are gonna require the town to send a release, and that money will come to the town.
So how much of the money have you spent?
We're within a couple $100 on that.
On the bottom.
As far as the truck, we're in the final closing out as far as the truck's been purchased. The only thing that we had left was to put the backup camera in and the radios.
Right. So you're gonna spend all the 42,000?
42,000?
Is that what I'm looking at?
No, that's,
I have a bill here for $22.50.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's breathing, I'm sorry. How much do you have?
$2,215, that's what the bill is for? Is this it, Adam?
yes.
Okay, so the truck was the year before, is that what I'm hearing?
The truck was the year before. That's all been paid for. And the only thing that we had left was when it came in, it needed the backup camera put in it, and it needed the radios put in. And the reason why we didn't have the company put the backup camera in, because we thought the price was just too much. They wanted over $2,000 to install it, and we got it down for $400 and something.
Yep.
Some stuff is cheaper to do it with.
Is there a motion to pay this bill?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is Municipal Leasing Credit Corporation for the new rescue truck, for the rescue truck camera and radio installation, $2,215, correct?
Right.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
I think we did that already.
Yeah, we did.
Motion passes.
Do you have anything further that you'd like to go over?
We do have, was this the recorded meeting?
Yes.
And so, just so the public understands, the emergency meeting that we had at the fire station is currently on DVD.
Is there a copy at the library, Joe?
No,
Because I'll give them my copy.
I did not
Okay.
give them a copy. I'll make one if you want.
What, I have no problem with that copy going to the library, so, because they have the equipment if people want to watch it.
Yep.
Maximilian has a question.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
All right, so, but for those who don't know,
TuftonRoad.net.
those who aren't on the internet can come see when it's got. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Chief.
I'll get back to you as soon as I find out whether or not we meet the requirements for the money, and we can go from
Great.
there.
All right, we've gone over with the chief. I have the police chief for 410, but I have a Betsy Frago for 420, and it's 420. Which does the board want to go with?
Well, I think we should move forward. I don't know where the police chief is.
Right
Oh, is
there.
he right there?
Sitting, huh?
Which do you want to put down?
Let's take him in order.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, chief.
Hi.
Happy spring.
Yeah, finally.
One thing that jumped out on me was obviously the pistol license surprised me, but that was all early in the year. It's actually January, February. Since the change in the law, we haven't had too many. I was shocked to see that many, 'cause I didn't,
Too many what?
not too many, I was just shocked that we had so many pistol licenses come in this year, because normally we don't have that many in a whole year. But anyway, as you can see, largely it's about the same. Motor vehicle stops are down and accidents are up. I'm busy with some of that. accidents. That's where I was mostly today, with a truck that was stuck up on Mountain Road. It almost rolled over when it went onto the shoulder. Even though the road limits have been lifted, the shoulders are still very soft and probably will be again after tomorrow's rain. I did get prices for the vehicle, the base vehicle. Two prices I got was $35,840.
Just 2 seconds on
Yeah.
the memo here.
Yep.
What's included in offenses?
It would be if somebody called and said there was a crime that was committed, and we went and investigated it as a crime. However many offenses came in, it could be a theft, it could be a credit card fraud.
So these are just the beginning, right? This is not the arrest.
That's not the arrest.
This
That's
is how they came into you?
And it's different from incidents in what regard?
So incidents would be the number of reports we've generated. In other words,
From the offenses?
so, all right, so somebody comes in and says, somebody stole some stuff from me.
Right.
If we take that report, so it's possible to have more, you could have more than one offense with one case. So each case, now some of the incidents are non-criminal, so that's why there's,
Right, so you have 28 incidences and
that's how many reports,
and
incident
22
reports.
offenses.
Yep, because some are non-criminal, but
Okay.
some incidents may have more than one crime
All right.
attached to them.
Great, thanks.
So-
Sorry to slow you down.
No, that's all right.
What were the 2 felonies?
Offhand, I don't know. I think there was a,
Aggravated DWI?
that was not a felony. I just it was not reported as one initially.
No problem.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I know we had a credit card fraud, but I don't know if that reached that level. So, we get 2 prices on the vehicle. One from the same basic options. One was $33,507 from Hilltop, and the other was $35,844 from McMulkin. Hilltop does have the state bid. So I suggest we go that way. We're done. It was actually, I think I set aside, it's actually less than I'd expected the price to come in at. It was,
What are you recommending, sir?
I'm recommending Hilltop. Cover sheet to it.
This is a Chevy Tahoe, 4-wheel drive?
Yep. The difference between that one and the ones we've had in the past is now Chevrolet does offer a rated, police pursuit rated versus special service rated vehicle.
So-
Difference is about 1.5 inches shorter.
So the 33,507
Yep.
is the basic police package. How much more money are you gonna spend on that?
It's probably gonna be another 17,000 to outfit it. That's what I'm estimating.
Is that to buy new radios and cameras, et cetera, or just transfer them?
This one's gonna need a radio because we're replacing them as
Yes.
because that's got the old, we can't get fixed, the radio, so we need a new radio.
Right,
So,
so we can expect it to come in somewhere around $51,000.
I'm estimating around there, yep.
Okay, so it's $4 grand under.
Yeah, I estimated at 35,000 for the base vehicle, and if everything, what we can transfer over, it should be okay.
And the camera gets,
Transferred over, because that's fairly new.
Yeah.
I did get, I didn't have to send this out for the other camera that was in the budget for the truck to replace the old different style camera.
that comes out of your
Signage.
budget, correct?
Yeah, that's in the budget.
Signage.
Huh?
The outside.
That's part of the upfitting.
Okay, that's in the 33,000.
No,
No,
it's
no,
just a
that's
decal.
a
That's
This is
an
a
outfit.
decal, I mean, that is just a plain
Right. White.
Silver like the others.
How long will it take this vehicle to arrive?
That I do not know.
$185 for keys. How about it?
Because there's all chips in them now.
You
That's
get
not-
one with the car,
You get two.
yeah, but they're charging you for it.
Well, that's for extras.
Oh, you're getting extra
You
keys?
get extra keys. I usually get the extra keys so we have some spares and,
You have more than 2 officers.
yeah, I'd like to have some extra spares. And we have to program them too, no less.
Is
The
it-
extra we have to-
Is it appropriate for the selectmen to request the chief full speed ahead on these 2 purchases?
Yeah, it's a warrant article, we're trying to get those two.
Exactly.
And the other one was in the budget, the video system. There's really
Sure.
only one option for that, it's from that company.
Mhm.
Well, there are other options, but it won't mesh with the rest of our systems, so,
Right.
okay.
Are the current cameras in the other cruisers all working properly?
One is working intermittently, they're supposed to send some parts to fix it. But the other 2 are working.
Is that on our dime or their dime?
I
Is it
don't
under
know yet.
warranty?
I don't know yet.
Did you get back to us on that?
I think the warranty ran out, but I will check. I'll find
I
out.
want you and your guys to be safe. You take a lot of risks up there, so
Well,
that you
the only
require.
thing I would say about that is that
They're well armed.
video systems save us perhaps a lot civilly, because it shows that we really are acting right, but as far as personal safety, perhaps they may cause some people to think twice before they do something that they know they're recording, but as a safety tool, it's more for critique afterwards to say what you could have done. Huh?
Saves us money.
Saves us money and for critique afterwards what could have been done. It's not a use of force option or training, put it that way.
I think the board takes the point of view, it's part of your necessary equipment.
Oh, I think it saves a lot.
Another question, how's the computer server doing in the office?
It's running, it's slow. But again, next year, that's something I plan on doing for next year.
Okay. Drug take-back day, I saw the sign-up, just for the record, can you give us the particulars on that?
It's 10 to 2 Saturday.
This coming
The
Saturday?
comes Saturday at the transfer station. I have to caution one thing. We have not got the waiver from the Attorney General's office yet. That's supposed to be happening. We've reminded, well, as a new Attorney General that took over, we mentioned it twice. I just, in fact, this afternoon sent an email out to find out if it was coming, the letter to waive it, because we need some of that to do this. Otherwise, we'd be in violation of the state law and rules. But it's done by DEA, so it's okay, but we need that waiver. And it supposedly was done, and nobody seems to have it yet, so they're working on getting it out. My point is, if I don't have that by the end of the week, I may have to say, time out with this.
Okay.
But I expect they'll be here.
So you've been working on your job review.
Yes.
I'm not ready for it yet, so it'll be another week.
Okay.
But one of the things that came up while we were talking about it probably is more appropriate in public session, which is you're currently going to be serving as the
President of the
president
Chiefs. Yeah.
of the New Hampshire Chiefs. Bring in your notion or your plan on delegation,
Okay.
because we're going to still want to have regular reports.
Oh, yeah.
We still have stuff that needs doing. So I think some sort of delegation really needs to happen this year for that to work for both of us. Because obviously we need to spend some time doing that job, going to meetings, et cetera, and we want to just have it be seamless.
When do you get installed?
June 3rd,
Where?
the Radisson in Manchester.
Is it appropriate for the selectmen to?
You should be getting invitations once everything's all set up.
Okay. That's a compliment.
Do get special hats and sanctions and
I had one other question. What is the status on the radar trailer?
It's in the garage, charged up, ready to go. We had to wait for the snow to go, and It's just to get solid again, which they're not, obviously, from that truck that almost rolled over.
It's a work in progress, right?
So as soon as everything's cooperative as far as the weather goes, it'll be out soon. But
But on
that was the
Mitchell
hold
Road,
up.
those people drive too fast on Mitchell Road. Just saying.
Anything else for the chief?
I don't care so much about Durban, but
Happy spring, chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for your efforts during storm. Betsy Frago, come on down. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
they're too dingy.
Karen said that you had to discuss, when I asked for copies of invoices from your attorney, they said that you had to make a decision on it.
What is it that you're looking for, I guess, Betsy? The question, and our attorneys, I suppose, whether or not you were looking for case-specific stuff, or you're just looking at how much money was spent.
No, usually, I think you've all dealt with attorneys. And usually when they bill you, they do it, they tell you how they spent the hour, making a phone call, looking over a contract, something like that. And that's basically what I was interested in seeing, because there's a lot of money involved. And I don't see what this, Karen said to me that you had to check it, you had to discuss it, because there might be something sensitive. What is going to be sensitive in a bill from the attorney?
Well, any lawsuit that's ongoing is.
But in an invoice for a bill, is the attorney going to put down details of
Yeah.
what? Oh, I have not
Who
found
did
that.
I speak to? How long did I speak to? About what did I speak? All those things go into an itemized bill, or all the ones that I've seen.
Okay,
So-
the bills we've had, my husband and I have been involved in lawsuits, haven't been on the bill
Right.
that detailed. That's on surprise as well. So have you looked at the things that, to see what was going to have to be redacted, if anything?
I haven't. I looked at the bills.
I've looked at them.
I wasn't sure what you were looking for, whether or not it was.
Well, it's under
Did
like
you-
under like a right to know. They're considered public
Right.
records. And so really, technically, if you're requesting a right to know, you don't have to give a specific reason what you're looking for. But I was just, generally seeing how it was done. I mean, I think for the history, I think you've all been here, and Chip was like before. You know that I've been to many, many meetings over the last months. And I just have seen a shift of what's at the meetings. For instance, I've noticed like a new trend. Example, let me give you an example, and I've forgotten exactly how long ago this was. A citizen came in and was asked about a charge, and so it was asking about a charge, and was head of a committee, and said that the RSA and the state workshops had told her that it should be done a certain way. The former board disagreed, called the attorney. We as taxpayers paid for the attorney, who read the RSA, which I think any of the selectmen could have done because they're not difficult to read, and said, yeah, this person was correct, and therefore we were charged. I have no idea what we were charged. I didn't even know it's in the time I requested. That's in another example. And then I find that the trend now is to, many times in the meeting, is to say, well, we'll have to check with the attorney. We'll have to check with the attorney. For instance, on the lawsuit that's going on right now against two citizens. To have us, when I say us, I mean taxpayers, pay for an attorney to go to represent the town, to bring the lawsuit, and ask the court, basically, to give an opinion on how to handle a right-to-know request. It's going to cost us a lot of money, when I would think it could be done in a simpler way.
Well,
And I'm just curious.
with regards to that, that's an ongoing lawsuit. You're not going to get any information about that until
Okay.
it's settled.
Okay,
Once it's settled, then I suppose a bunch of it will end up getting released.
okay.
So anything that, for instance, someone asked the attorney to read an RSA, and I'm new to this board, so I don't know
Right, you
exactly
weren't here
I don't know
at that time.
exactly what you're talking
Right.
about. But we can look at the bill, and if it was just a review, that's fine. But remember that a certain amount of this information is covered by the attorney-client privilege. It doesn't have anything to do with 91A. So once it enters a lawsuit arena, you're not going to get a lot of information from this board.
Well,
or any
that's for
board.
8 months, so I guess you can look at I was under the impression that you had to make a decision, and the first time you could make a decision was going to be at this meeting, because I asked for the thing after your last meeting, and you didn't have a meeting last week. And so, once you make a decision, then is Karen going to contact me and say it's ready to be
Right.
seen? Okay,
That's what we did the last time,
Right.
is it took a few days to put it all
That's
together.
fine.
You know.
that's what I want to
We
know.
reduced our copy charge, so it's less expensive.
Well, and the
Or
thing
you don't
is,
even have to have copies if you don't want them.
yeah, I can come in and look at it, and if
Sure.
I want a copy, I know there's a copy charges
Right.
from 25 cents down to 15 cents.
Right.
But there's just, there have been a lot of decisions by the boards recently that have involved in bringing in an attorney to settle things that I think, having attended these meetings on a regular basis, probably for the last decade, could have been avoided. And I, as a taxpayer, there's a lot of money going out to the attorney. And again, granted, I don't know how it's going out because I haven't been provided with it. I know the amount of money that the attorney has received, but I have no idea how it's broken down. Okay, so you think you're going to have that decided in the next couple of days, or when?
I think we can decide today, can't we? We're gonna review.
We can work on it, sure.
Okay, and then Karen would just let me know when it's
Sure.
ready. Okay, very good.
Hopefully by
Thank
the end of the
you.
week.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Betsy. Good to see you.
So next we have the Steinmans from Brown Road.
Hi,
Hi there, I'm Lloyd Wood.
Ted Steinman.
Carol.
Carol?
Hi, Bill Marcus, nice to meet you.
Ted Steinman. Oh, sorry, Ted Steinman, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
As they say, come on down.
Okay, thank you.
Have a seat if you want, Mrs. Steinman.
Why don't you go ahead and sit?
It's nice to put a face to
First of
it.
all, thank you very much for the opportunity to meet, the dialogue, and obviously, it's our ultimate desire to come to the most easy, agreeable situation that satisfies all parties. That's our intent, our goal, as it has been from the very beginning.
Did you bring an attorney?
We did.
Yes,
I
we
think he
did.
wanted to make a statement.
Yeah, our attorney.
He's gonna come in, he's gonna have to sit up front.
Yeah, I
There's
can, I'm
another
happy
chair,
to.
just drag one up.
Thanks.
And your name for the record?
My name is Jeremy Eggleton, E-G-G-L-E-T-O-N.
Welcome to downtown Tufton.
I grew up in Moultonborough, so I'm familiar with the neighborhood.
You have the floor, go ahead.
I'm going to let these guys talk about the facts of the situation because they're much more familiar with that than I am. I have a few things I just want to throw onto the back end afterwards, and we'll go from there.
Now, before we begin, the issue today, gentlemen, is,
We're gonna tell us what the issue is.
okay,
Actually, that did raise a question that I had. Can't stop a lawyer. Question is, I looked at the last two meetings, the 3rd and the 10th, I think, that were recorded online. It looked like there's a decision pending today about whether to remove the stones or order the removal of the stones. Is that the issue that's on the table right now?
That's one of the issues.
Okay.
Sure.
yes.
Thank you for clarification.
I'll give a brief backdrop. Approximately about 5 years ago, large trucks and boat trailers began to appear on our property, backing trailers into the lake and for large motorboats. With that came progressive destruction of the property at the access to the lake, knocking down vegetation, small trees, bushes. Then, in addition to that, the trucks with the big tires created deep ruts And then with rain, there was debris and wash off with no filtration. So the area was really deteriorating, and one could see kind of scum and thick mud at the edge of the lake at the access point. Therefore, this was kind of a potential threat to the lake and to the quality of the water, which is obviously a wonderful resource for everyone who lives there, plus the town. Because of this, the then president of the Hidden Valley Association, Dave Smith, had a series of meetings with Carolyn Sundquist describing the situation and what could be done. Last August, Mark Evans, who was then the current president of the Hidden Valley Property Owners Association, my wife and myself met with Carolyn Sundquist and Jack Parsons in person.
Right at this table.
And we presented to them, I gave them a copy of our property deed that's registered in Carroll County and showed them where our property lines were, etc. We spoke about the potential destruction and plus addition of potential milfoil into the lake and the quality of water, etc. After looking at it, both of them said, this is your property. You can put barriers there to prevent large trucks and boat trailers from parking there. With that, Mr. Parsons said, if you place the rock, please make them back at least three feet from the road so the plows will not be interfered with during the winter time. Jim Bean, working with our contractor, who did that exactly what town said, the stipulations, later the recording with them. In addition, and with our intent to be a good neighbor, we said access to the lake should be appropriate, especially for small boats, kayaks, canoes, not just the large trailers. So when we put the rocks there, we told them, and it's listed there, that we would have a 3-foot wide opening so people could carry in canoes, kayaks, small rowboats into the lake. With that, we then went ahead and placed the rocks according to, obviously, the stipulations. Last December 22, we got an email and a call that 2 people, one in a backhoe and one directing, were moving rocks on our property. Basically, our property was being vandalized, it was criminal trespassing, as a backhoe was moving rocks away from the opening. I called the chief of police after getting this. The chief went down himself that same afternoon, observed it, and called and said, yes, someone has moved rocks from the access point and has opened. He said that there was no one around, with a lot of footprints, but there was no one around, when he was there. And that started, I guess, the whole litany, which I think you can go from there. One brief point, now there were 2 points. After the rocks were placed, a complaint was filed with the Department of Environmental Services. I then get a letter asking us to respond, which I did, and then the DES came last November and examined the property, and examined the whole situation, and then issued a letter saying no violation.
To us, they sent us a letter.
No violation by placing the rocks where they were. I gave a copy of that to the town, to Carolyn Sundquist. So I filed that letter with them showing this was the DES decision. In addition to that, the Fish and Game Commission stated that access to the lake is via car top access, meaning any small boats that we can carry on top of a car. Nothing about anything else larger than car top access. So we do feel, point blank, that we operated in the best open, honest way, dealing with the town, meeting, getting permission, doing exactly as what we said, and then the litany of events of being vandalized and criminal trespassing. I won't even get into the cost what it cost us, but obviously us and some neighbors funded the.
We have a letter
Okay, sure.
stating the cost.
Okay, fine, so,
We know what
fine,
that
as long as I have that, so that's basically that's the scenario of the situation. I do want to comment that about law and order. My father was a policeman. I was raised about law and order, and I understand it and respect it greatly, having from my whole background growing up. And with that, I'd like to make sure that my wife and I answer any potential questions you have about our view of the situation.
So you've watched the meetings that we've had recently?
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
What do you see as a reasonable outcome to this?
The reasonable outcome is that the rock should stay in place. The biggest thing is that the access to the lake, and I even took recent photographs, you can see the rapid drop off.
Do you have those photographs with you?
Yeah, I took pictures today showing the rapid drop off and then showing that actually.
You want to show them to the board?
Sure, I will. And showing that during this past winter, ice houses were then being pushed down through this, what was previously an area that would not have ice houses accessible to that, were pushed down there and further eroded the area, and you can see the area that was denuded. In addition, the guardrail, the very end of the guardrail, has been bent back by some truck, I'm sure, that hit that, and bent the guardrail back in that area, and I'll just show you.
And I think we probably emailed the pictures after the fact to you if you want to have them.
I thought we had some pictures.
I thought we did too.
I mean, I looked at something. I drove by, but I didn't. I don't have a photographic memory.
The last ones that I had seen were from winter, so I just wasn't sure if you guys had anything non-snow.
Show them right over here. Stand between them and just show them.
I'm good. You guys will.
This is the access next to the rail, and I'll just show you a series of ones. And this boulder has been pushed back into the water. This was the area where we left a 3-foot wide opening, and it's now about 6 feet wide. And there's this rock, and there's 2 other rocks that were pushed back into the lake with a backhoe. The backhoe. And stepping back, this is the bigger boulder. There's a smaller one there. And this was a 3-foot one. This is the first rock, and this is going right down the lake, and it's a sharp drop off. Again, looking at it from this angle, these are the end of the rocks here, 3 feet back from the roadway, as for that, going down, and this is the wide open area. This was the guardrail that was bent by some truck, I would assume, bending this back, and you can see it bending it over. And stepping back, here's the guardrail, the rocks, and the opening, and ice houses being pushed down there. In this area is denuded. What happened was when we discussed this last year with Congress Unquist, she said, after you do this, maybe the town would contribute by restoring some natural vegetation. They do some plantings consistent with natural vegetation in the area as a filter to prevent further runoff and restore the area. So that,
Are these the rocks that you paid to?
yes, and then they extend up from here.
And are they on the pavement?
No, they're 3 feet, more than 3 feet back from the road. They are not on the pavement. We followed exactly what Jack Parsons said, and what Jim Beam then worked with the contractor, and Jim Beam was actively involved, and they're all more than 3 feet back from the road. So we followed exactly what the town's directions were.
Okay.
Carol, is there anything else you want?
Yes, are you done, Ted?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, several things came to mind here. I think it's important for you to know, if you don't already, that if you go on the New Hampshire Fish and Game site and you go to our lake, you will see that it instructs the public that there is an access area on this lake and it is the one near us, but it says very clearly, they have a little canoe, right, a picture of a canoe on the map where they show it to you. And they say, there's a sign with it that says that this access is only for car tops. I had never heard that term before. And we have been there 40, how many years?
45 years.
45 years.
19, actually more, we in 1974.
Almost a native.
Yeah, so we've been here 40, and
And-
we use the house year round.
Yeah, and we have never minded people coming with their canoes and kayaks, and that's fine, but as he said, around 5-ish years ago, they started coming with these enormous vehicles which were ruining our property and threatening the lake. So if you go, the public is looking online, they see it is an access, but they're not paying any attention to the fact that it's only for car tops, and that it is by the discretion of the owners. It also says that on the Fish and Game site. This is being allowed by the discretion of the owners. So we never had a problem with letting the small car top boats in, but now we're having a serious major problem.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say briefly, our goal also, well, again, was not prevent access to the lake, but we would hope that people would park on the other side of the road and carry their boats in, which is flat, because that would prevent further destruction of this damped down area that really needs to be revegetated to prevent the silt and the mud from running off. So parking it across the street would be perfectly fine.
Do you own?
We own the property across the street. So that, from that way, we bought this year from Mr. Brown, the 8.3 acres across the road, quite a few years ago.
So the other thing I wanted to mention is that I know that the guy who went with us to meet with Carol and Mark Evans, that he has written you a letter, and I know that he asked that it be read at this meeting so that the public could hear another person's view of
Do you have a copy of that?
it was. Did you not get the letter?
No,
There's
a copy right here.
I know that he asked that it be read at the beginning of the meeting, so he couldn't be here. He says in the letter he couldn't be here, but he wanted the public to know.
Would someone like to read it?
I'd be happy to read.
Any problem with her reading it into the record?
No,
We have it, so.
Okay.
Dear Board of Selectmen members, I am writing to correct what I feel are numerous inaccuracies discussed at your recent meetings concerning the rocks that were placed along Brown Road last year. I am hopeful that the following information will provide clarification of the situation and lead to a positive outcome for all of the stakeholders involved in this matter. In the summer of 2016, I, along with a group of concerned property owners in the Hidden Valley development, formed an informal group to address the significant erosion problem on Brown Road where it meets Lower Beach Pond on Carol and Ted's property. The erosion problem developed over time due to the compression of the soil along the shoulder of the road and on the embankment leading to the pond. It was caused by heavy vehicle activity in this area because of soil compression and defoliation. Parentheses, the bank was heavily covered with bushes not too long ago, end parentheses. During rainstorms, road pollutants and sediment from the bank itself wash into the pond. Our goal is in undertaking this project was simply to keep the pond healthy for all to enjoy, to protect property values in Lower Beach Pond area, and to ensure that corresponding property tax revenues did not decrease due to water quality issues. We sought to avoid the types of issues that, for example, have plagued Mirror Lake. Interestingly, but not surprisingly, I read in the Granite State News last fall that the town of Wolfboro has undertaken the exact same type of projects on portions of the roadways running along parts of Lake Wentworth and Russ Pond. David Smith, Ted, and Carol Steinman and I took the lead on the project. I have been a Tufton Borough taxpayer for approximately the last 25 years. The Steinmans and David Smith have been taxpayers for the town for over 45 years. All of us work or have worked in highly regulated service sectors, meaning medical, education, and banking, our entire careers. From our experience, we understood that we could not simply correct the problem without specific guidance and approval of the town of Tufton Borough. To that end, we approached Carolyn Sundquist during her office hours with our concerns and had a series of 3 or 4 meetings to discuss possible solutions to the problem. Jim Beam and Jack Parsons were present at meetings or involved in some phone conversations. Only after the aforementioned discussions and with careful coordination and guidance from the town's elected representatives did our group move forward with this plan to add the boulders. We spent approximately $3,600 from our personal resources to have a contractor place the boulders along Brown Road in the agreed-upon location. The contractor interacted closely with town personnel to make sure the job was done correctly. In short, we acted in good faith and with the specific approval of the town. Carolyn Sundquist understood the water quality threat, having dealt with a similar situation previously at Mirror Lake. The plan was for the town/or state to follow on with additional work to revegetate the area around the rocks to restore the natural occurring filter that had once been in place. Carolyn Sundquist and our group acted to protect the town's natural resource and, in turn, its property tax base. I am uncertain why we have been so heavily criticized for these actions. Residents in our development do not receive much for their tax dollars, as our roads are maintained by our local association, meaning surfacing and snow plowing, etc. And since many of the homes are second homes or retirement homes, there are few children in the school system. Despite receiving limited services from our substantial tax dollars, our group felt it was important to make a personal investment, and we were heartened that the town was considering an add-on investment or help in securing funds from the state to complete the project at a future date after we completed the rock wall. Many of us, especially David Smith, has been involved heavily with the Lower Beach Pond Dam over the years. These efforts resulted in the full replacement of this structure in the fall of 2016. The substantial costs to replace and maintain the dam are sourced exclusively from homeowners in the pond's watershed via special property taxes. One of the state engineers informed us during the reconstruction of the dam that it was close to failure. Had it failed, it would have taken at least several years to replace due to permitting engineers, studies, etc., and there would have been mud from Brown Road out for 200 yards, making use of the pond by the general public nearly impossible. My point is, we have worked hard to protect Lower Beach Pond for all to use and enjoy. We are doing positive things for the area despite the negative rhetoric that would lead one to think the opposite. I have heard several folks say that we tried to keep people out of Lower Beach and that our actions make the road unsafe. Neither of these comments could be further from the truth. First, an opening was left in the rock wall for anyone to carry in their small boats and kayaks and canoes. All that was asked was that the general public park across the street. This action would keep cars off of the environmentally sensitive road shoulder and provide some separation between the homeowners and those parking their vehicles along Brown Road. The solution doesn't place a burden on anyone. This is the last paragraph. I'm sure you can understand my surprise and dismay. The town seems to unilaterally be leaning towards reversing its previously explicit approval to undo this positive project that we have started. I have 2 requests. First, would you please read this email into the record at the start of the meeting on April 24th so that the general public can hear an alternative perspective on the situation. I would attend your meeting to discuss it myself, but long scheduled travel plans make this impossible. Second, and most importantly, I'd ask you to consider the aforementioned facts in your decision-making process and strive to reach a solution that addresses the totality of the problem. Lastly, I would note that the opinions contained in this email are solely my own. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully submitted, Mark Evans.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to your question, what do we look from the standpoint of a reasonable side? I wanted to make sure I didn't ignore that. Okay. It is our desire, and to protect everything else, is that the boulders be moved back to block the access point with leaving a 3-foot wide space for people to carry in small boats, canoes, and kayaks, making sure that people do have access to the pond. The goal is not to keep people out, it's just to prevent destruction. The second thing is maybe even a sign to park on the opposite side of the road so they don't progressively destroy the shoulder. So people can park, walk 10 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards across the road and carry any small boats. So if we just restore that, and that would be my
The ideal
recommendation.
solution.
Pardon?
That would be,
Yeah, that would be, my solution is, again, to
That would
protect
be a
the pond,
compromise,
protect the
right.
property, make sure that people have access to the lake and can park there, and it's not park along one side of the road all the way, and sometimes you can have 10, 11 vehicles parked there. They park on the other side of the road, again, it's our property, and that's perfectly fine. And, you know, so I have no problem with that. We're trying to be, you know, as ecumenical as possible.
So, thank you. And I just want to kind of summarize things from my perspective. Obviously, we object to an order that requires my clients to move the stones, or an order from the town to just go out and have the Public Works Department move the stones.
just before you get
Yeah.
rock and roll,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you know where the boundaries are through some lot line.
Well,
Okay, so 3 Rod Road's been established in 1842.
yeah.
Where is your assumption
So
that right-of-way lot line is?
all I did is I took a 25-foot measuring tape, and I walked to the middle of the road, and then we walked it out as far as it stretched, basically, because half of 49 feet is 24 and a half feet, right? So when you do that, the tape doesn't reach the water, okay? And that's the most important fact in this case.
Well, yes, it does.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Well, it
I was
doesn't.
out there 2 days
Well,
ago.
I
Well,
would,
it doesn't. It
it
doesn't
didn't
reach.
today,
so-
it didn't
It
today.
might, if you're standing in the middle of the bridge, yes, it touches the brook, for sure.
If you're, okay.
But where people drop
Those
their
rocks
boats-
that are currently there
Yeah,
are less than 9 feet off of the center line.
That's right.
They're off the edge of the
that's
road.
absolutely right. I'm not
Okay.
disagreeing with that.
So if the road bed's 21 feet wide,
Yeah.
that would mean that that's 19 feet. All I'm trying to establish is it your position that the road is closer to the east side of the right-of-way than it is to the west side?
I'm assuming it's right down the middle. We haven't done.
Okay, so if the right-of-way is right down the middle,
Yeah.
your position is that that doesn't give us any access to the lake?
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
go on.
Obviously, you know, if put to the test, you're going to need, and we're going to need more than me standing there with a 25-foot tape to
Right.
get that established.
Well, there are
right?
2 issues here that we can argue.
Yeah.
One is a right-of-way established in 1842.
Yeah.
And we have all the right in the world to use that right-of-way however we want.
Yeah.
The other is a prescriptive right-of-way.
Yeah.
I think we can move beyond a prescriptive right-of-way pretty easily in that area is well within the 49 and a half feet. If you're saying if you're stipulating that the road's right in the middle of the right-of-way,
Yeah.
you can all take a tape measure out and figure it out.
Yeah, the stones that are on the side of the road are within the right of way. No
Right.
question about that. No
Right.
question about that. The question.
I will point out that shortly after they were placed, you received a letter from the board about the placement of the stones and the fact that they were in the right-of-way.
No, it did not.
No, that is,
That's not
I would like to disagree, I would like to agree to disagree. They asked us to move the stones, I said, oops, we made a mistake. No mistake was made. We sat here, went through that very
You did
carefully.
not sit with this board.
No, but I'm
You sat with a member of the board.
Well, but basically, you can't move the goalpost. After you
Well,
establish
the
the
goalpost is always set. Unfortunately, the mistake was made.
Yeah.
One selectman cannot decide from the board side.
But
we didn't
So
know that.
I know you didn't. And we've already apologized, I think I apologized last week about that.
Yeah.
But So you were working under the
Assumption of.
assumption
Jack
that
Larson,
one
Alan
selectman's gonna make
Sundquist,
it, make
and
it.
Jim
And
Beam.
Jack was with us, and he told us to put the rocks back 3 feet.
Where to put them, exactly.
Everything needs to be a vote of the board.
Yeah.
We act as one, and we cannot act
So what do we
individually.
do now?
Well, wait,
So,
so with due respect, I disagree that they needed your permission to do the rock placement, okay?
In the right of way.
As a matter of law, I need to state that for the record, okay?
and your basis for that?
Because this is their private property. Your road, your town road, is an easement on their private property. It's a 3-rod road across their property, and so you share the right to that property. The placement of those stones within the right-of-way needs to not inhibit the viatic use of the road, okay? And so, to the extent that they approached this town, sought the guidance of the town as to what placement would not interfere with that viatic use, obtained that guidance, and then implemented the placement of the stones under that guidance. They did so in conformity with the statute and under the authority of this town with respect to how to comply with the statute, and therefore the town isn't stopped at this point from changing its mind on that. So,
It's an interesting legal theory.
Well, I get-
Unfortunately, what you've gotten wrong in it is that that right-of-way established in 1842 is for the purposes of the town. We haven't abandoned that right-of-way. So they were within their rights, I suppose, to put some rocks there. We're within our rights as the owner of the right-of-way to remove them.
I disagree, but I understand your position. I understand that the statute that you're relying on. Okay.
But it's still,
So-
but someone vandalized, someone came on our property with a backhoe and vandalized them, did not have the right, the town did not give the right, tell someone to move the rocks, I assume.
Well, no, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
No, I
So the
understand.
second one was a wrong
I don't
as
know
well
if
as the
that's
first
gonna-
one.
Yeah, I understand, but I just, so.
That's a separate issue from we're dealing with. And-
Sure.
And my understanding is you're dealing with our police department on that, correct?
We are. Yes, and that's fine, and they're looking into it. But you have to understand the perspective of these guys. I mean, who amongst us wants somebody getting into a backhoe and driving around on their land moving rocks?
Right.
You know?
Nobody.
Exactly, right?
Right, absolutely.
So,
But that's not the issue that
Sort
we're
of
dealing with.
tangential with what
Okay.
we're trying to figure out. Because, there are any number of
If
issues
the rocks
along the
had not
way.
been placed where they were placed in the right-of-way, then somebody would not have come along and moved them.
somebody's solution was to come to the town and try and figure this out. And I know this is a police issue, so we'll
Right.
set that aside. I'm just telling you to understand, where these guys are coming from.
All we did was follow the directions, the instructions provided by the town. We didn't do it then come to the town, we came to the town first
Right.
and asked the permission and asked us what we can do. So all we did in the best faith was come to the town, get the advice of what to do.
And before those rocks were moved by somebody in an unauthorized manner, you had received a letter from us saying that they were in the right-of-way and they needed to be moved.
Did you ever see a letter like that?
It was back in, I don't,
I have every sheet of paper.
I know it's
We
in,
can get you.
yeah, yeah. I
So-
can't tell you the exact date, but it was,
We'll assume we've seen it.
when the board became aware of the fact that these rocks were placed in the right-of-way, we sent a letter to you saying that they were in an incorrect position and they needed to be moved. Shortly after that, attorneys started talking back and forth about it, and of course, nothing has happened since then.
I do now remember that, and I remember emailing with Carolyn, and she said, I'll get back to you if there's anything to get back to you about, and I never heard from her again. So we thought it was not a problem.
Someone had the letter.
I remember when you explained that out, we did get something, and then we were in
So
touch
I
with her, and
interrupted
that's
you.
when we
Go
got a
ahead.
lawyer
Thank
to see what we can do to protect.
So it looks like that letter was dated October 17th, 2016. So, thank you for allowing me to continue. So, I guess as I understood the discussion at the last two meetings, it appeared to me that there was a lot of focus on the line of stones on the shoulder. And I think Mr. Stein, or Dr. Steinman is testifying that there's flexibility there in terms of what you want to do with those rocks. The real thing that they were trying to achieve is to make sure that access to the lake was limited to carry top boats, so that canoes and rowboats could be put in there just as they had been allowed to do so for many, many years. And I looked into this with my town, former town of Moulton Borough, because it's similarly situated. I have a lot of contacts there because I was close to the town officials and so on and so forth. And what they do there with range roads that access public ponds is similar. It's the car top access, and they try to restrict putting boats in. It's not this town. I totally recognize that. What I want to emphasize is that these guys are trying to implement a solution that is recognized as reasonable public policy in areas around here. And I think, as Mr. Devitt's letter testified, this is the way they're trying to do it in Wolfboro too. So these guys weren't crazy to be trying to do what they were trying to do in this situation. And if we could come up with an arrangement that essentially affected their goal, which was preventing trailers and boats from dropping in on their land, then I think that would be a reasonable outcome for everybody.
Yeah, it's just the trucks and boat trailers that have destroyed the shoulder and the vegetation and the access. I mean, that, if you reduce it, it's only that. It's the boat trailers and the large trucks.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's never been an issue until if I have to synthesize it, that's where the issue is. Is the boat trailers and the large
access,
trucks
right.
and the destruction that they've created.
I'm not willing to stipulate to the destruction, but I think
I
we have a couple of...
I can show you pictures from before, and if you go there now,
Yeah.
you'll see it's defoliated. There's no vegetation there. There's no shrubbery. There's no trees. There's nothing.
But it has been...
Now, earlier
That has not been that way. We've been here 45 years, and I can be as honest and straightforward as I can be. This is a new phenomena
Yes.
created by boat trailers and trucks. Absolutely.
That being said,
Yeah.
that is the access point for the public to a great pond.
If we give permission.
No, if there's an RSA, it's on our right of way. This is our position.
Yeah.
It's on our right of way. It is the only access to that great pond, which is guaranteed by statute. We are within the statutory rights that are illuminated in 271 and 233, if you want another statute, CODIS, assuring that all members of the public shall have access to and use of the public waters for recreational purposes. Lower Beach Pond is a great pond. It's state water. It's not town water. But it needs access. I would love nothing better than have public access created somewhere. That's not an available option currently. So that access is going to be our access.
But why
But
does
we're
it have
not
to be
protected.
across our private property? That's the feeling that I have
In
sometimes.
1842, that no longer became exclusively your private property. It became encumbered by an easement. The easement is the road easement.
Well, I have a different
It's no
question.
different than my house on Ledge Hill Road
Can I
has an easement right across the front of it.
Can I clear up something in my mind?
Sure, so,
Excuse me, I'm not an artist. This is the bridge.
right,
This is the stone wall.
right,
Right.
This is the water.
yes.
Right.
The road goes kind of wide, and these are the rocks that were put in adjacent to the pavement,
Right,
correct?
3 feet off,
Yeah.
3 feet off of the
More than 3
road.
feet.
Right, okay. As I understand it, your property goes down to the
It's
high,
all- it goes
the
all
high
the way.
water mark, right?
Now, our
No,
property
actually-
goes to the middle of the culvert in the middle of here.
If you go in the Carroll
Goes to
County
right here,
record,
right there.
our property line begins at the culvert. And Mr. Ringer property begins there, our property begins halfway across the culvert,
The big pipe.
and goes along the road. So we have it, I gave the Callan, and hopefully Emmett, we had the deed.
So
It
your,
was registered.
so,
So our property line starts right along the road.
so your property line goes,
Subject to the road.
goes something like this,
Yes,
correct?
Correct.
exactly correct, sir.
And you have those deeds.
I have those deeds, and I gave them to Carolyn when I presented it. I mean, I just showed her.
I mean, technically, your lane goes right to the middle of the road. And if you own the other side, it goes all the way across the road.
No, it's not, come on now.
No, it does, because, it does, because if we discontinue the road, that land reverts back to your ownership, exclusive of the right-of-way.
No,
That's how it works
it's not a
everywhere.
prescriptive road according to the documents Sue gave me.
That's what he-
And now, it talks about laying out the
It's
road.
laying out a new road.
in 1842, and then again in 1910,
Yeah.
and then again in 1970. So it's not a rangeway. I can't find anywhere where it's a range road. I cannot find anywhere where it's a prescriptive road. I haven't found that word anywhere.
It was laid out, but it is an easement. It is
Right.
not a seizure of the land by the town.
No, no more than the power company sees.
Right.
It's where the landowners gave permission for the town to lay out a new road, quote, to build a new highway.
Right.
And it talks about beginning at the stake and the stone, and 3 times they met in 1910. They even go back to 1842, laid out all the points.
Well, let me ask a different question. You're part of the Hidden Valley
Yes.
Association. Is Hidden Valley prepared to offer an alternative location for public access?
We have no
I
idea.
can't.
I would doubt
I
it,
could
but
not speak for them. I
we can't
have
speak
no.
for that.
if
No,
I said anything, I'd be doing it without a
again,
smoke.
you're part of that group,
Yeah.
but, and you don't like the public accessing at that point.
No, we
No,
don't
not
mind
what I said.
the
That's
public
misrepresentation.
access.
We came here and said the public
For
should
4
have
years, we
access
didn't
in
mind.
good faith. There's a 3-foot
You
wide
don't,
opening.
excuse me, you don't like the public parking on the roadside?
With trucks and boat trailers because of the destruction. It's not the parking, it's the destruction that
Okay,
occurs as a
and
result of
and
the
there are
parking.
ways that we can address the, that issue on the roadside other than boulders. Now, and I want to just step back. Earlier, you mentioned a concern with milfoil.
Yeah.
Have you seen any milfoil in
No,
Lower Beach
in
Pond?
fact,
Not yet.
we put, when the boats were there, we put brushes there and asked, and mentioned how milfoil was spread. The brushes were stolen in the first 2 days.
Well,
I'm just saying, yeah.
I happen to know just a little bit about milfoil. And I am not aware of any milfoil in Lower Beach Pond.
That's what we
That's
want to
exactly
get.
right.
It's exactly right, and if it happens, then it's too late. See, once it gets a foothold, then it's too late. So if you're waiting for something to happen, then it's, the best thing
But
is
it-
prophylaxis, so you can prevent that from
It's
happening.
not exclusion that keeps it.
That's right, but
It's clean
you know,
boats.
if you never bring a boat that's been in another body of water in, then the chance of bringing in milfoil is
All we're saying is
infinitesimal.
motor big boats on boat trailers and big trucks. That's all. We're not saying all boats. Rowboats, kayaks, canoes, fine. It is the destruction of the roadway with the trucks and boat trailers. I mean, if we just focus on that, that's the issue.
Let me just say, I don't know what you're envisioning, but when they have the trucks and they take it over and make it go straight, they put the trailers into the lake, so that's why they've ruined everything. Because these giant things with multiple wheels, they lower it into the water and then they just slide the boat off into the water itself. So, and then we have then they come with large trucks that have open backs, and they put the trucks down on our property, and then they slide the boat into the water.
And
So
then they-
over and over again, it's made all this
And then as they
debris
try to
and
come
mess
up, obviously
and
they gun it a little
ruination.
bit because they're in a steep angle. So they gun that and that just creates more and more ruts and destruction.
So our primary urgency is around the access area for large. We don't want boats and we don't want trailers and trucks going onto our property to put their boats in the water.
This is the same situation as we had on Lang Pond Road, where people were putting boats across that little beach and backing, out into the water, where the Pyrd beach is.
There's another boat launch
And we-
over off of 109.
Yes, and what happened is, and this guy worked on it for a number of years, is that's a beach area, and someone can carry a canoe or a kayak in, but no launching of motorboats, no putting bog houses in.
And that's the same solution that Moulton Borough.
Well, on a range road, we're on a town road.
The bottom line is, these people have no problem with seasonal access to the body of water.
Right.
But you take your canoe, you take your kayak, anybody else go ice fishing with their auger, it's not a problem. It is these bigger vehicles that,
I just find it, I find it difficult to reconcile the facts that I know 3 different individuals. One was the former chief of police in Ossipee, who put ice houses on that lake for the last 25 years. And now all of a sudden it's an issue.
Are they here? I mean, they're not testifying.
We're not having a trial either. Okay?
But
So what I'm saying is you've got apocryphal information on your side. I'll throw mine out there just to
And I will tell you that people have
counter
dragged.
Mr.
This isn't apocryphal. This is my client's.
Mr. Abbott's letter was pretty much.
excuse me, one at a time, please.
Sure,
Will you please
absolutely.
speak?
I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm saying that I personally fished out of a boat in 1958 with Byron Heald, who's currently dead, at that boat launch. So that boat launch has been there for a number of years.
And what kind of boat was it?
It was a 15-foot aluminum boat with a 2-horsepower Evinrude engine.
Did you carry it in, or did you
No,
drop it in?
we had in the back, it was 1951 F-100 pickup truck. We backed up to the water and slid it into the water. I was 7 years old, so I wasn't giving them a lot of help. My point being is that boat launch has been there for a lot longer than any of us have been around. More importantly, I think it's self-controlled. I've been out there in a kayak, and there's, aside from the rock that got put in the lake, there's another bunch of rocks out there as you get to the lake. I don't know how you get over that with a motor. Be that as it may, we can't eliminate ice fishing from the, we can't, in my estimation, make some sort of cultural judgment that only people that own kayaks and canoes can go out there. I mean, it's a public body of water. It is a great pond. That is a historical boat launching area. Now, should we do some remedial work there? Probably. But to, make some sort of major change to its operation, I think is doing a disservice to all the other citizens.
Can I speak about ice houses?
Okay, you're next.
People have dragged ice houses across our property during the winter repeatedly and have formed new tracks. I had to replant in the springtime many times over bushes and trees that were destroyed during ice houses being dragged across our property. Mr. Ringer, who has been here for a long period of time, he saw that. He himself put some boulders back there that tried to, this new axis was being created. He said people were just dragging their ice houses across the road. And then worse, someone left their ice house there in the springtime on our property. I had to call the town to have them remove an ice house. So the answer is yes, ice houses have been, quote, dragged across our property. Can I also mention, too, sometimes these things, when I came up today, every time I come up, I have to police the area. Beer cans, I picked up a toilet seat today, beer cans, trash, food containers, people who used it thought this is a public dump. And I do that each and every week. And I'm up here, and is I police the area and try to clean up the trash that's just dumped on that property. And that happened, and there was the border of the boat traffic. In the summertime, the more trash that I have to clean up. That's just a little personal issue, but it just shows you what this
The
is.
fallout from
the fallout
all this activity.
From this. And we're not trying to keep people out. The goal is to be a good neighbor and give people access to it. It's just to prevent the destruction of the property and impacting the quality of the water for the lake. That's the issue. Anyway, I'll stop. I've said it again. Yeah.
Well, we're all victims of people dropping trash. I mean, go Mount Pleasant.
Like you to come up with a way to prevent the large boats from abusing us there.
I've gone on the Fish and Game website, and it is not I'm going to say, a large boat launch
No.
area. It's
No,
not
it's
registered
limited.
for
It's
that.
definitely limited, but Fish and Game doesn't have any authority to tell you what kind of boat you can put in there. That's not they don't have that ability. They can suggest that it's a small boat launch, and it is. They can suggest kayak and canoe usage, which is nice. But that's not within their purview. They don't do that. They don't set access limits. In fact, they raise money to build boat accesses, and that's the next step. If we can't come to some reasonable agreement that we all can live with, it becomes an issue where maybe Fish and Game takes some of their money and creates a boat launch.
Fish and Game has a program, it's funded by federal funds, that they will put boat launches in and pay for 2 weeks of it. The question is there a place on that lake? They're not going to do anything until everyone in this world is aligned.
You don't know. I mean, there's boat launches going in all the time. I mean, all I'm saying is that that changes the use of the lake completely, because now that boat launch will hold a major speedboat who might want to drive around Brook Beach Pond.
And the property owner has no right whatsoever.
Well, no.
Assuming there's an access
Yeah.
right, which in this case, our position is there's not, and yours is that there is.
Well, there is, and you can lawyer it all you want. It is. So what we need to come up with is some sort of an agreement that satisfies the citizens of Tufton Borough and access to that pond. That's our job.
Right.
I mean, I'm not here to
And
bust your
we're
bubble.
absolutely in total agreement.
Yeah.
And I said before, as I said before from the very beginning, we said, don't keep out. That's why when we came, we kept the opening, so people would have access to that. That was our intent, to be a good neighbor, not to keep people out, but let people enjoy that. The big question is, at what point in time is there a negative impact of the destruction, I say, from large boats and trailers that have the negative impact on the environment and on the lake? So we are exactly in the same position about having people have access to the lake. We feel very strongly about that. We feel it's a resource that should be shared. How do you share that resource and protect the environment so that the resource stays there for a long period of time? I mean, that's the issue.
Dr. Steinman, let me ask you a question.
Just Ted, someone on that.
But before the boulders were placed along there, as a member of the general public, was there any way that I would know that that you had an issue with somebody trailer launching a boat there?
It didn't become an issue until people started using it in the destruction.
We have no trespassing sign there, and then the Fish and Game has put a sign there that says, this is private property, please respect it and don't leave your trash, and know that you're being given the right to be here by the owners of this
Yeah,
property.
But was there a sign that said kayaks and canoes only?
No.
Okay.
Because we didn't say that. It was, our response was in response to the change in the environment. It isn't that boat trailers and trucks have been there for 30 years, it's the last 5 years. So the milieu, the environment has changed. And our response was to the change in the environment and the destruction
never a
that
problem
occurred with the
before.
change in the environment. People, we've always had, we've been here, say, since '74, so we've always
But
let
it
people
may
use it.
be that a less severe solution, a less severe approach to making people aware might have received better reception. For instance, if you put a sign up at that point that said, no trailer launched boats, please.
Do I have the right to make that statement? And the first thing that potentially someone could do is rip the sign down. I mean, I'm just
Well,
saying.
if it's on your property, okay, and depending upon how it's worded, again, I don't use Lower Beach Pond, okay? I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody that does, all right? Local residents who, for a long period of time, have accessed the pond and used it in the winter and the summer for ice fishing, for recreational fishing, for other recreation, down over the years. And I don't know what kind of boats they're using, what kind of access they have, but let's just say for a second that it's consistent with what they see around them. Suddenly, what has been used for a long period of time is not available to them because there's these huge boulders right in the right of way, all the way up to the point where they put their boats in. And you're watching this go on over time and the trend that you're concerned about, and right to be concerned. But has there ever been a conversation? I don't know that there has. So I'm Joe Schmuckatelli, and I've been, going down there with my fishing pole forever, and suddenly, and I go down there with say a 14-foot aluminum craft boat, and drag it down, and now I can't get it in there because I got these boulders there, and it's like, what the heck's going on? Again, you're watching things that you see.
That's why we came to
concern with.
that's why we came to the council.
Okay, but you didn't come to this board, and
We
we've
came
already
to the previous board. I
already
mean,
said
In
that.
the best
that it
interest,
was-
I mean, we came, it was then, after a series of meetings between Dave Smith and Carolyn Sundquist, then said, so with Jack Parsons, Carolyn
But
Sundquist,
they know that
And
she,
there was some discussion by this board about your interest in placing rocks. And it was certainly our understanding that it was not going to be in the road right away, which is why, once they were placed in the right of way, we sent a letter off to you saying they're in the wrong place. And regardless of whether you talked on the phone with the road agent who said, yeah, as long as they're not impeding snow, that's fine. The fact of the matter is that the impression that I had was that you were going to have these boulders in a place where they would keep people from crossing your lot, not in the right of way of the road. So once they were in the right of way, and this board was made aware of it, we sent you a letter and said they're in the wrong place.
I just want to put this shoe on the other foot.
Right.
I'm sitting here and you come to me and say, you know what it is, and I tell you this is what you should do, and then you do that. Am I at fault for following the directions?
So
from the
no,
town?
we're where we are now,
I know.
and we have to move forward.
Sure, I
And
understand.
I think certainly it's my position that those rocks that are in the roadway right-of-way need to be removed from the right-of-way, period.
so if we've already said that if we feel it would be okay, it would be a compromise to move them to the edge, all the way back, off the.
To the edge of the right.
I call the side of the road, I call it, the side of the road,
Right.
the edge of the road. Push them out to the tree, where the trees are, on our property. But when it gets to the access, the most important thing is we want some sort of barrier there that will allow people with small car tops to go through there, but not allow the destruction of our land to continue with the big
And
ones.
my understanding of the law is that as long as it's not in the right of way, that it's probably within your right to do it.
Well, we
However,
measured it today.
however,
Yeah.
that doesn't address the other issue, which is access to the lake. It addresses the issue of the improperly placed boulders. You thought they were properly placed, but they're in the right of way. They need to be removed from the right of way.
Can we all agree where the edge of your property is?
We cannot agree as to where the property, the right-of-way stops. I don't think we have agreement on that.
Well,
All I have is a, all I
I
have is a
thought at one
Carroll
point in time you stipulated that the road was in the center of the right of way.
Well, that's what our
Okay, so if you stipulate that the road's in the center of the right of way, it just takes a
Well,
tape
wait.
measure.
I said, to me, it appeared as though the road was in the center of the right-of-way. I took a tape from there,
Right.
and it didn't reach the water in the location where trucks are dropped in the
Is the
water.
stone wall on your property?
Stone was on our property.
So that's a question of
And
fact.
excuse me, as I read through this, it talks about in front of Mr. Brown's house, it talks about the right-of-way, the new road is 3 rods using the easterly stone wall as a boundary.
What stone wall?
The stone wall that's on your property.
No, but that's brand new. This is ancient history.
Or the stone walls that are on.
The stone walls, I looked at them
Brown
today,
Road.
they come down Brown Road from the Wolfboro line.
Yeah.
And they stop, I think, 2 lots before yours. So they're, whatever, however distant off the road. So there are stone walls that probably align with those.
Yeah, there's stone walls on the Tuftonburg side of the river.
But
And
I
the
think
distance from the edge of the road to the middle of the stone wall is about
24 and a half feet, right? So let me show you
Okay.
this little diagram here. So this is the Steinman house here. This is the lake.
Yeah.
There's Brown Road. I'm just estimating based upon my measurement today, right? If the middle of the road's about here,
Yeah,
this is your 24 and a half foot line.
right.
Obviously, a surveyor would have to look at this to get it right. But there's about a foot between between the high water mark and you're right, here.
This is the access that people use.
That's not where people put boats in, and they could not because of the steepness of the terrain here. You couldn't manufacture a boat launch that got you in there.
No, you can't, but that's where people go in.
But it isn't. They go in here. So if we were
So,
allowed,
okay, so your argument is that the boat launch that's currently being used is out here?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why we don't agree.
Okay. Right, we're getting
Because
somewhere.
we're not interested in going further than the right of way.
Yeah.
Our only interest is here.
Yeah. I mean, if the stones were placed, on this line like that,
Right,
at this point,
then we have a solution.
well, I don't know, I'd have to talk to these guys about that. But I don't think that's an accessible point. I mean, is that an accessible point with a boat?
Look at the boat.
Oh, right, where the road is. No.
You mean where it drops
It's
off?
impossible.
Right next to
It's
the
a-
bridge.
It's an immediate, it's a sheer,
Then you have
Drop-off.
to, you have to put a ramp in it, because that's a sheer drop off. That's a steep, right next to where the guardrail is bent back. There's a big steep drop off. The rail is here, and the rail is bent back, and then right next to the rail, where the rail
we
ends,
should have taken a picture.
that area
He understands.
Okay.
is a deep drop off. You couldn't, people
I don't
couldn't.
think people put in there. That's not where.
I just see a lot of trees. Yeah, I'm gonna have to visit this
Yeah,
site again.
I wish I could show you pictures from before and now, and you can see
It's so lovely, pretty.
the destruction that's occurred from the large. It's only the large, again, it's important, you know that we're not trying to keep people out. Absolutely not. It's the boats, the large trailers, and the trucks and the consequences of their being, that's, if I
the
try to
major
reduce
issue.
it, that's the issue. And can we come to some conclusion, or something that,
Well, I think we got a price from our road agent for moving the rocks or removing the rocks, and I think moving the rocks was a couple $100.
Yes.
Can we take that upon ourselves rather than,
To get those moved back.
or just,
No.
you know, we haven't finished the discussion yet, but let's
Yeah.
assume for a moment that the town will pay to move them.
I have no problem with the
Right.
town paying to remove the rocks.
Yeah.
I'm not asking these people to.
So there's no money changing hands, now we just gotta figure out,
Where do we put the rocks?
Where
Because
are we
they
gonna put
technically
them?
yours.
Can-
Or do we donate them someplace?
actually, we left it, you know, I said the goal is, can you just protect the pond from the boat trailers and the trucks? That's the issue, it's not, we're in total agreement. I think our
Well, most
differences-
of all these rocks, if the town moves them back to where the trees are, off the side, what I call the side of the road, that would be okay, even though it will allow the people parking there to have the runoff go into the lake, which is bad for the lake. But it's the access area.
But see,
that's another issue. that we
That's,
need to-
well,
You see,
yes.
but if they couldn't.
But
put
there
it-
are, we had, until these people moved them, we had 2 or 3 rocks blocking the access with the space for people to walk between. So it's just 2 or 3 rocks, it's just, you know, it's not 6 feet, 8 feet, how wide is the access?
Yeah, it's right now, it's about 8 feet.
Do you want to go view the area again? Do the three of us need to walk together?
We need to take a tape out, I mean, I think if we, and this is all being filmed, so it's essentially
Right. Well,
testimony.
for sure, before those rocks get moved, we need to definitively say this is where they're gonna go.
Right.
So
And
that
if-
they're- so
and
that
if
so that we
it's-
don't end up,
if-
you know,
Are you comfortable that you know where the right of way is, and where the legal
Well,
way
there's,
is?
they've
Well-
already agreed that this road is in the center.
Right.
We're gonna measure up 24.5 feet on either 24 feet,
I think
9
though,
inches.
Because in this document here, it talks about it's 3 rods in some places and 2 rods in the other.
let's not,
Well, we're not buying a survey.
No.
If the good doctor wants to spend his money on a survey, that's fine.
when I drive
The town
through
is
there,
gonna-
and when I drive through there and I
I'll let
look
you
at
go
that
second.
area, the roadside area, as Jeremy mentioned, there are stone walls to the east, or toward Wolfboro, there are stone walls toward Tuftonboro. And to my eye, the stone wall is about the edge of the right-of-way. These boulders are closer to the road than the distance the stone walls are off, which is why it's, you know, to somebody just driving through, it's like, whoa, they're, you know, on the roadside. So where a surveyor would put a pin, you know, I don't know, but I think it's fair to say that that area alongside the road has been used as roadside for,
A few years.
yeah, for many, many years. And back to the stone walls, where there are stone walls, and about the same distance out where there aren't stone walls. An area.
And then the issue becomes parking. So if we wanna create extra roadway on the
I have,
west side,
that's another issue. I have no problem working with these people of moving the parking to the other side. Maybe the road agent needs to cut a couple trees or something like that. And I have no problem the town doing that over a period of time.
There's enough, I don't think you even have to cut anything down, on the other side of the road. I mean, if I had a Y body, you know, but if you have any of the routine truck or park, there's enough space there along the shoulder that I don't think you have to cut anything down. If you did, it would be the most minuscule amount.
Well,
On the other side, yes.
you'd be interested in this. I have another job that deals with juveniles in the school district. I'm a truant officer.
Okay.
And isn't it amazing, I didn't have my camera with me, but at the height of a snowstorm, I go past your house. I count 11 vehicles, 4 trucks with trailers. The snowplow comes the other way, I have no problem driving by, he has no problem plowing. So with the 11 cars that were parked there, there's plenty of room. If you're willing to, maybe we need to put a no parking sign up and move the cars to parking on the other side. To me, that's a no-brainer.
That's, no parking is a discussion for another day.
So,
So,
I understand, yeah.
So,
you know, now the, you know, the ultimate issue of access at that point is difficult in that we know that for many, many years, people have been launching and recovering bomb houses there, have been putting boats in and taking them out, apparently across your property.
Yes.
And so this is a, you know, it's a long-standing situation that,
we're gonna have to take a look at it.
yeah,
We really are.
yeah.
Because I mean, I mean, we may be dealing with a prescriptive easement issue. I mean, we don't have to talk about the right of way anymore, which would disappoint me mightily, but I guess we need to look at it again. But I think we can come to an agreement that we are gonna move the stones to 24 feet from the center line of the road. Okay with you guys?
Why don't we go take a look at what we decide?
I think,
Out of courtesy, we'll let
Yeah.
them know.
yeah,
They've been courteous with us, I can be courteous with them.
Well, yeah, we just don't want to prolong this thing. I mean, the ice is out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to see it there, and I find that saying, you can just look and say, okay, can you protect the quality of the pond, and how can that be achieved also, you know?
Well, that's an issue we need to address as well, but it's not this issue.
I understand, I understand.
I have another question, but go ahead if you have it.
Do you want to open up the public input?
May I please open it up and let everyone who has a question ask one
You
question?
understand, and if you want to take that
Okay.
pen out and shoot yourself in the head.
Does anybody have a question or a comment? Hands up here.
Yes, the fire chief isn't here. This last winter, we've had to use our ice boat out on the big lake many times for thin ice rescues. I want to take a close look at a narrow access. I don't know if he can get his ice boat through a narrow access to get out into Lower Beach Pond, should he have to pull somebody out of the water out there. That would be a major safety concern to me, especially in the spring, which is when people tend to go through. So maybe talking with him about it, have our selectmen do that would be a good thing as well, because that's the only access that there would be.
Is it possible to do it on the person, there's a narrow area where the road goes over, and we're here, and Mr. Ringer is here, and he has land, if you're gonna go on somebody's property, that's open.
He's not here, so we can't argue.
Yeah.
So, no, but I'm saying
bringing
if
up
you
the
did
point
ice boat
because-
out there,
Access it.
he's
Well, I'm bringing up the point because the airboat has to get out
Excuse
there
me.
maybe.
This gentleman has the floor.
And we just, I would like everybody just to keep that in mind when we're talking about access, if we would please.
right.
Did I see another hand up over here?
No, I was suggesting.
Hi Ben, how you doing?
My name is
You all
Ben
look
Ladd,
great,
and
by the
I've
way.
been involved with this situation since early September. I think there's a whole lot of miscommunications with all parties involved, and if you give me a little bit of room, I'll speak to it. I met with Carolyn on September 23rd. How do I remember that? That was my birthday. And I had concerns about the placement of these rocks, and I asked her to check with the selectmen, to check with town council, the municipal association, Primex, the town's insurance carrier, as to the legality and the liability of this issue. It just kind of died right there. And as far as I know, the only thing that took after that was on December 29th. I don't know if that's the correct date, but it was towards the end of December. I was a property owner in Hidden Valley. My son is the owner of that property now. I have used that public access up there for over 50 years. I've never seen any boats much larger than 16 feet. They're all utility boats. At one time, there was a kind of an unwritten rule that you wouldn't have any horsepower over 5 horsepower. So these weren't very big boats. I understand, and my issue is that the boulders were, it was said it was okay to put them in there. However, they're in the town's right of way, and that I have an issue with. I have an issue with losing the public access. I agree with you 100%. I've been involved with environmental issues with boat ramps, and I'm in one right now. I do know a little bit something about them, and as Chip said, that's another issue, and I think it should be addressed. That's the only access to the pond, and we, as a town, have got to take care of it. You had some other issues. I think those were police issues. I can't speak to them. I can't address it. If you've got people trespassing on your property, if you've got people abusing your property, that's a police issue. That's to be taken up with them. I think the issue right here is, let's get our right-of-way back, and let's see if we can all come to an agreement and have a boat launch up there. People don't launch multi-horsepower boats or big trailers. I used my boat was a 14-foot boat, and I launched it there for years. I haven't been up there for 5 or 6 years, but
I can tell you, sir, now.
But I have been up there.
The bigger boats.
Just a minute, let him finish, okay?
I'm
And
sorry.
then I'll let you respond, okay?
I have been up
Thank you.
there, and I have measured that road and that right-of-way 6 times, from summer, fall, winter, spring. And I think I know where the right-of-way is. And but I think everybody's kind of got to work together here. We got to get a little bit better communications and see if we can resolve it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
That's why, in response to the Department of Environmental Services, who came and looked, and I said, in the letters here with the town, they looked at the rock, at the boulders and where it was, and the decision from the Department of Environmental Services, the state, said no violation on that, the way things were then. So at least this was.
Well, we don't have an issue with a DES violation with your rock. The issue is with the actual launch itself. That's where you have the erosion. But I think you'll find that you have a much larger stormwater runoff erosion problem with the second beach than you do with that boat launch.
Well, you finished, but I can't address that. I can only address the
Our property,
the environmental issues that have occurred with the runoff. You can see the mud being washed into the
Yep.
lake from the big tracks that are created by trucks.
But if you don't fix that issue, if you don't take the mud out, it's going to keep going in there. So that's an issue. You have to fix it. You have to fix what's broken.
That's why we put the
But
rocks.
the rocks aren't going to fix it.
Yes, it will, because then trucks can't park there and create the destruction. That was the goal, is to protect. It was an environmental issue to protect the quality of the lake from the runoff, from the trucks and the tire tracks, and as people coming out of the lake and pulling a trailer, they had to gun it, and that created deeper and deeper tracks, and with every rain, there's more and more wash off down and more runoff into the lake. That was the issue, and if one could see that, since we lived there, I can tell you what has happened over the course of time. So, again, this was done to protect a resource for all, not our resource. This is to protect, and that's why the Hidden Valley Property Owners Association agreed and supported this, to protect the water quality and from some of the issues. That was the problem.
Well, I disagree with your cure. It can be cured, but
Okay,
that's
guys,
not how you cure
we're
it.
getting into an argument here, and you're both nice people.
That's fine.
Anything else from the selectmen?
Well, obviously, the issue of water quality is something we need to deal with.
Yes.
Runoff is what we need to deal with. As far as the milfoil issue, there's a program for inspecting boats. I mean, every time I go so.
Is it fair to say that we will make a time and the three of us will go take a gander?
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Just
want to do
schedule
that in
that.
fairness
Right.
to both sides here?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. Before I close and move on to other things, I want to compliment everybody here. It's fun to be a selectman when people are civil and polite with each other, and I want to say thank you to every person here. It's refreshing. Okay, Joe, do you need to switch film?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for stopping by.
Good to see you.
Excellent.
Nice to meet you again.
Thank you so very much. Really
At least we leave you smiling.
Thank you very much, Lloyd.
You know, as you said before, people think this
Didn't feel it, don't worry.
It's also on camera, so
He was selfish.
that's a question. Travel safe, my brother.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You guys need to take a break, are you all ready to?
But he didn't step.
How much more do we have?
Step in the sun. Didn't hurt you at all.
And this just sort of summarized our testimony. And then I've done a little diagram that I think probably.
Yeah, I have a pretty good memory.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming all the way up.
Thank you, Karen. You really-
Okay, review and approval of 4:10:17 minutes. All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
One spelling correction.
Go ahead, sir.
In the second paragraph on the, actually the first full paragraph, Natalie Hebden's name is Hebden. So there's a misspelling in there. I don't see any other issue.
Is there a motion to approve as amended?
So move.
I'll second it.
Any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Moving right along, signature file. We've already signed acceptance and payment request form for $2,215 requested by the fire chief for equipment lease and purchase agreement for his cameras. Next item. This is notice to intent to cut timber, 3111. It's on Sodom Road. Lisa Boussier.
Yep.
Seems to be,
Well, we handle them both together.
okay, Richard.
Uh,
Okay, the other one is lot 16-2-9, Sergeant's Crossing, Michael Phelps. What's your pleasure?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The date today? 24th.
Anything else?
This is March 31st. I recommend approving half of the veterans credit. You folks, I think, already signed it. Did I not sign it? Right here? So I need to sign it,
Sign
right?
it, right.
We already voted on this,
Right.
if I remember
Yeah, we did.
correctly. Next item is intent to excavate lot 66-2-69, 109A. Gerald Holmberg.
and that's an existing excavation.
Has he filed for an excavation permit? Or started the process?
Karen, has he met all the criteria? Is this an existing pit?
He has had reports brought in, but,
I mean, I thought it
Is he
cleared out.
on the list of our existing pits?
I would say, I think we have
See-
criteria, you might want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we had a
let's
report
defer-
come in
Let's
recently.
defer dealing with that, because I think it's been a number of years since he did anything with that
Okay.
location.
We'll
I
table
had
it.
a report, I could grab it,
We'll
it's the
table
same
it.
property,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I'm not sure.
Gravel tax levy. Again from Mr. Holmberg.
Move.
It's already been
How
signed.
is the-
Oh, yeah, is that the same?
Yep.
Yep.
So he has a bill to pay, right?
Right.
Okay. Town Hall Cemetery, right of burial.
Sign it already.
Yes,
Already signed it.
okay. This is application for current use. Property location 109A. It's 88 acres. Do we have a lot number?
5516.
Okay, have you folks reviewed this?
No.
Okay,
So,
we signed it,
I'll
we signed it 4/24/17.
did I?
Yep. Is there more action necessary? Rod reviewed and approved.
Whose property is that?
Okay, we need to sign it here, correct?
Yeah, we haven't signed it. Right.
Okay.
So we need a motion to approve. Rod has recommended approval, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, this is to put this property in current use, and it
North Country.
it belongs to North Country Village, right? So I move approval.
Is there a second?
Can we have a discussion?
Yes.
Or I'll second it and we can have a discussion.
Okay, it's been seconded for purposes of discussion.
So, does this subdivision stay in place? That's my question.
Do you want to check with Rod and make sure you and he are
Well, I
on the
think we
same?
have to decide, don't we? So, all of what is outlined is gonna go into current use?
It's 88 acres.
Is that my understanding? So all of this. I don't know what line I'm on.
Well, this is the entrance, and this is the existing area that's being used. There's nothing over here at all.
And all this.
These are all future lots that so, I mean, this is all unimproved land.
Right,
Yeah.
right, I'm just wondering, I mean, we're sitting on a subdivision over there, Witten Brook, but it may be in current use as well. And there's a penalty if you take it out of current use, but do we don't just allow the subdivision to sit there? Because I don't think subdivisions time out here anyway, there's no, well, it never did. And we don't make action sua sponte, so is it, we have the planning board chair here. When I ask her a question.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, is it currently the policy that subdivisions time out at some point?
Actually, they do. If we have some subdivisions that they've had no action for a certain amount of years,
And what's a certain amount?
well, because you're supposed to have active use within the first 5 years. If it goes past that, what ends up happening, I don't know which property you're even referring to.
This is North Country Village, and
Okay.
and you know where all of the existing mobile homes are.
Yep,
This side of that,
yep,
across the brook, there's a big
piece.
undeveloped piece.
Yeah.
But if you look at the plat,
Yeah.
it's all got lots over there, but
Okay.
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there. Well, what had happened was, and this started happening probably about 10 or so, 10 or so years ago, the planning board was sending out notices to these subdivisions that were basically stagnant, saying if you didn't comply with the rules and regulations by a certain time frame, and we gave them a certain time frame. But North Country Village was not one of those ones that we did tell that were no longer active. I just didn't know, like, there's one up on Ledge Hill, it's no longer active, so, you know, they'll have to come back before the board if they wanted to complete the subdivision. Same thing with them, obviously, that's been there a very long time. They will have to come back before the board.
Good, thanks.
Can we act today?
Sure.
Yeah.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
This was signed.
Yep,
Okay.
so we're all in favor, consent?
Aye.
All right.
This is employment contract for the aquatics director, Tuftonboro Swim Program for summer employment. Duties are included but not limited to. Compensation is the swim program director stipend gets $2,500. The swim coach stipend share is $750 and is to be shared as appropriate with the swim coach assistant. What is your pleasure?
Is that what we've been doing?
So
Yes.
this is a, and, all right. So who are we? Oh, Lindsay Libby,
Yes.
okay. Didn't say,
I'm sorry.
well, it did, no, the only place it says is where she signed it on the back, so,
So we're making a contract with somebody for employment?
Yes.
yes.
Why?
The swim instructor, every year, they hire and
No, I understand that, I'm just wondering why we're making a contract. That's just a question.
just,
Just to describe their duties?
Yes.
Or are we, how do we pay them?
that's between she and Diane. Usually it's paid at the end of the year or.
So they're not an employee of the town? Okay, so
No.
this is a contract for services?
Yes.
Right,
Okay, okay.
yep, so
Thanks.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Insured employee time cards are turned in on time every week. Who do they turn the time cards in?
The lifeguards turn them into Diane.
So they are employees. So we have to take out taxes and do all the rest of it.
Right.
Okay. Then, before they begin, they gotta fill out their
Yes.
W4.
W-4s and all of that. And we have no idea what the rate of pay is?
It's a stipend for the summer.
For the lifeguards? No, it's, the lifeguards have a, and I don't.
There's an hourly wage for the lifeguards.
And what is it?
I can ask Diane for that.
$11, I believe.
$11?
Her daughter is one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're agreeing to pay them $11 an hour, and then this.
No, this
This is just for the aquatic director.
Okay, who's turning in their time card? That's all I need to know, because that's our employee. All Ensure employee time cards are turned in on time every
Yes.
week.
That's right.
She
That's
turns
the
in
lifeguards. Right.
Okay, so the lifeguards are our employees.
Yes,
Yeah.
We're paying them $11 an hour.
yes.
Okay.
This is not
And then
for,
the swim director gets an additional $2,500.
No, not additional. No,
not
that's-
additional. That's her fee.
That's
the
her
stipend.
stipend.
That's what she gets paid for the
Yes.
swim.
Right.
And the swim coach stipend is $750.
Yes.
So they're not employees of the town,
Right.
right? I haven't heard from the chair.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I'll ask.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
I just don't like employment contracts as a matter of
Okay.
personal choice.
We'll ask and we'll
So,
table it.
I mean,
Well, you also-
well, you have two signatures, they're free to go. But the problem I have is that if,
Yes.
how it's structured, that's all I want to know.
Would you please check and, with the police chief and see if these two individuals need
Criminal background
a
check.
criminal background check? Okay, and we'll table this and discuss it next week?
They won't be swimming this week anyway.
No.
Not unless they're prunes. This is,
Do you have to go to Concord to get a criminal background check now?
yes,
Yeah,
You can't go to
no,
no,
Tamworth anymore.
these are fee too. This is from Roberts and Green, our auditor. And just that we accept their work. What's your pleasure?
Yep.
Sign.
This company is nice because they have it done before town meeting.
Yep.
Our last signature is notice of appointment of Steve Brinser to the planning board. Term expires June 2020. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anything else to be signed, Karen?
No, not, that's all I had.
Next is continued business, follow-up on 2017 warrant articles. I'll go through the list here. We have talked about $50,000 for the purchase of a police vehicle, and we've given his go-ahead. The $25,000 to replace the Lake Road boat ramp. Jack has requested prices. All set there. $9,206 for Mirror Lake boat launch. That's been given the go-ahead.
Yep.
$41,268 to purchase new mobile radios for the fire department. The chief says that's gone forward because the prices were going to go up. $13,000 for the purchase and install a new filtration system for the town garage.
And that's happening?
I read in the road agent's bills that a couple of weeks ago, he took something off the truck. And it's my understanding that there's already been, what was it, over $1,000 worth of electrical updates? That was to-
Electrical service and
That was to
panels.
accommodate the doors, but it will correct two deficiencies, right?
That's correct.
Okay. The $15,000 for the watershed plan grant that's money that we spend last, that the grant is in the works.
Right.
So it's full speed ahead on the warrant articles?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
got, I just checked the balance on the police department capital reserve fund, which
Sure.
now be $465,000.
Is that for the station?
Yeah.
And those checks have already been written so that they can be gaining interest. Okay. Next item is Selectmen's update. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I'll try and be brief. Planning board at our meeting last Thursday considered 2 site plans, 188 Middle Road for a self-storage facility, and that was given conditional approval. And the Camp Sentinel came with a site plan to install an additional camper cabin, and that was given approval.
Camper cabin?
Summer campers, summer campers, right,
Trying to
right.
think of,
Yeah, bunkhouse.
I've heard of campers, I've heard of cabins.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
never heard of
yeah.
a camper cabin.
What some of us will call a bunkhouse.
Right.
Okay, so they're adding an additional bunkhouse on the boys' side, trying to even things out a little bit. We have money in the budget to do a survey of the right-of-way on Cow Island that leads from the beach property up to the interior property owned by the town. And now that the ice is out, I think we ought to go ahead and get that done. We can't get a price on it, and so I would like to ask him to go ahead and get that arranged.
They should be checking that beach anyway,
Yep.
because it tends to collect things.
Yes.
It does. I have a couple of additional prospects for the Energy Committee, and I'm not finished talking with them yet, but so we should have a full committee here fairly soon. We'll start a meeting on that. We were contacted by Camp Belknap. They did an appreciation dinner last year for town employees and volunteers, and have extended the offer again this year. Last year we held it in May, and this year they indicated they could do it early in the season or in the fall. My opinion is that the fall is a better time to do that than in the spring. I think the people who went last year enjoyed it. The food was wonderful. Didn't have strong attendance, so.
It'd be a good time to talk about the Maris case while we're having dinner.
Yeah. The what?
The Camp Maris case.
Oh, yeah.
That probably,
Yep. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention is, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about moving the public input time to the beginning of the meeting, and giving people an opportunity to say their piece before we got started. Are we in agreement with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at what happened after the folks on Brown Road left,
Yep.
I mean, we really haven't given those other people an opportunity. Betsy Frago came up, Ben Ladd spoke about the Brown Road issue, and we had other things.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think.
So, I know some towns have had issues with people taking the floor and not yielding it, and that's been a concern. I don't think we certainly haven't had that issue here, and I would suggest we move the public input to the first item on the agenda, and if it becomes an issue, then we can deal with it again. That makes sense?
You're the chair. You have to make sure they yield the floor.
This is what I would suggest is like today, let's say our meeting was at 4 o'clock. People who want to speak, we'll sit here at 10 minutes or 4, and that does a couple of things. Someone needs to get home or move on, that's right, want to be heard. On the other hand, at 4 o'clock, I'm sorry, we have to go to a meeting type thing. And I'd be willing to try that for a month or two and see how it goes.
You have to buy a watch, all right.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the difference between starting at 4 and then opening the general meeting at 4:15 after public input versus starting 10 minutes early, knowing full well that a certain selectman's gonna be late. So,
Why don't we do-
my recommendation is we start at 4 and we start with public input right at 4 o'clock. And I think our folks are respectful enough of time that they're not gonna go on and on and on and on forever. And one thing that some towns do, if they find it becomes necessary, is they put a limit on how long each individual can speak and a limit on the total amount of public input time at the beginning of the meeting.
But
I would rather we just not start with that, and if it jumps into being a problem, then we'll have to deal with it.
in the month of May, I'd like to suggest we do the following. I start the meeting at the posted time, and at 10 minutes, time out, we go on to the rest of the meeting.
yeah, I mean, I think you can put the agenda together like that, which is a reasonable approach.
Yep.
Let's try it for a month, okay?
The easiest way to diffuse long-winded testimony is it's usually about a particular subject. And then it's a matter of putting them on the agenda for
Well,
that
no,
subject.
we had an interesting discussion today, and the 3 or 4 times I had the, excuse me, you're talking, you're next, and no, that's part of the role as chairman, so it was not adversarial, everyone left with a handshake.
Okay.
Okay, yes, why don't we try that for the next month?
Sounds good.
And then review it at the end of the month. Go ahead, sir.
The only thing that needs to happen, we have a little bookkeeping issue, just a housekeeping more than anything else, is on our payroll system. We need to have our department heads sign off on our payroll. So if they have people that are putting in timesheets, they need to sign off on that timesheet. And it's happening most of the time. I signed up on Karen's the other day, but we need to tighten that procedure up, or it's going to come back and kick us in the trouble. I will get you a price on that at $5.50.
Okay. Karen, when are we going to have Skip Hurt Library meeting at the fire station?
I think it's the 5th. It should be the final one.
Just pull it out.
And why is it at the fire station?
5/5/17, it's a Friday at 10 o'clock. Skip Hurt to give library presentation at the fire station.
I guess that's why.
We're all set on that?
Because Lloyd wants to do it at the fire station, that's why. Yeah.
There is more room, and evidently there's a computer there to make it visual.
Oh, visually.
Yeah, and there's a board there.
I did meet with him on Friday, so I did get his perspective on what he is going to propose. I think we need to have a chat sometime as a board to decide where we're at as far as, this is a public building, how much involvement are we going to have, or are we just going to throw it all into the library building committee and let them handle it?
Yep. I have no problem listening to what he has to say. I take the point of view that we have people that are talking about the library. That's great.
Right, but there's some issues that have just laid out there
Yeah.
unattended for some time. And one of the things that we did just recently was made a policy that town money spent over a certain dollar figure is going to go out for bid. And that hasn't happened enough,
Right.
so we need to
Well,
see
we
what
talked
we're doing.
about that, we didn't make a decision.
Right,
Right, so,
but I think that's the sort of discussion we need to have
Yep.
with
Yep.
regards to the library as well.
yeah.
Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has updated, number 1, the rules of procedure, and number 2, the land protection policies and acquisition criteria. Did I put a copy in correspondence, Karen?
I think the policy of that.
Did I?
I don't recall
Okay.
that.
I'll pass that around for you folks. I received an email from Richard Byrd, asking if he could be on the Energy Commission. I have no problem with that. Can we ask the police department to obtain a printout from Carroll County Dispatch Center with the callback numbers for all the town personnel? We've had some changes.
I inquired about that, and actually the county, they don't have that. Did you mention for selectmen, I thought specifically? Is that right?
No, for the entire roster of all our employees.
Okay.
Could you check again, please?
Yeah. So do you want the Carroll County Dispatch to have a like a phone number access for all employees?
Could we get a copy of what they have for the different department heads
Okay.
and correct phone numbers, and we'll update it.
Okay.
Some things have changed.
Okay.
Okay? Gentlemen, I'd like to ask that at a future date, we put the beach area on a future agenda item. This is meant to act as a review for the upcoming summer season and to make sure that there's coordination. I've taken pictures and there's a number of issues. You know, one of them, for example, is the fence that was damaged there. That needs to be replaced, but I'm not sure whose budget. Do we want to, is that a contingency or whatever? So what I would recommend is that we have both the road agent and the chairman of the rec committee in at their convenience. I don't think it's fair for one to be paying for whatever, and I'll just pass that around. Pass that around.
So are you suggesting that we go down there and have a viewing?
No, I just made pictures of it. I suggest that next time we have the road agent and also have Gina and go through this checklist.
Okay.
Part of it is to help them out. Budgets have been hit pretty bad. Can I have the blue folder, please? Anything else under updates to talk about? Okay, I'll start going through the correspondence. Steve Hunter's building permit for his new project. Have you seen it?
Yep.
The next is the town of Tuftonboro. It needs to be signed. Residential tenting and rec vehicle permit for 118 Governor Wentworth Highway.
Each have copies.
I don't know.
Have you folks seen it?
I have.
I did too.
Okay. I need your permission to sign it.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Put that on the green one. And we'll start with the correspondence. Suggested meeting schedule, changes, additions. Meet with Rick at 4 p.m. on the 1st, May 1st.
Right.
Okay with that?
That's our attorney for.
Yes.
Right.
It's my understanding the things that he wants to talk about are public
He's
information.
not coming in on attorney-client stuff. This is other issues
Yes.
that he has, right?
Yep.
Non-public issues or?
No, not
Public
no,
issues.
Public issues.
All
Yeah.
Rick Sager called today with 2 topic items, junkyards and auction. I've suggested Rick come in May 1st at the 4 o'clock meeting to meet with the selectmen, confirm if this is acceptable. Carolyn. Friday, May 12th at 10 o'clock, department head meeting here. Any problem with that?
What time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
5/22/17, regular selectmen's meeting moved to 9 a.m. Any problem with that? Okay. If anybody has anything they would like to have added to the department head meeting, feel free to get a list together. This is just town meeting overview, the 2000 warrants that were discussed. This is the emergency management meeting that Joe taped. I have no problem with it going to the library.
Great.
Dear Selectmen, advise if you're in favor of reappointments of people whose terms are up, unless you prefer the boards to discuss themselves and notify of any potential reappointments.
I've been in touch with my committees.
Sure.
I don't have any issue with reappointing any of those people, but
Comes
that's
from-
not to say that they're ready to serve. For
Right.
the common courtesy would be to ask them first,
Yep,
so.
okay. Have the committees do that? There's no rush because it's June.
Right,
Okay.
right. But thank you, Karen, for putting that whole list out ahead of time, and highlighting, you know, whose term's coming up and that sort of thing.
You're welcome.
That's helpful.
This has to do with Steve Honeycutt, and in lieu of flowers, a donation be made in memory of him to the Special Olympics. We had a question if it was okay to donate in the amount. The town has an operating budget for $500 called gift and donations. That was sent to Tim Green. He was asked. Tim Green, the CPA, said, in general terms, the law requires that funds be expended for a public purpose that benefits the town. So those could be considered questionable by the general public. The board has identified the purpose of the appropriation, gifts and donations, so I think there is some allowance for that there. For an appropriation that small and with an argument for the benefit of town employees, I would be very unlikely to comment on it during an audit.
In other words, he's saying it's okay with him.
Yeah, how much money were we talking?
We were talking, well, we didn't, did we?
No, we didn't talk a specific amount. What's your feeling?
For purposes of discussion, I'll make a motion that we donate $500 in lieu of flowers in Steve Honeycutt's memory to the Special Olympics.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, I think once you get into that level of gift, you really need to look at whether or not we have a line item to support it. I mean, historically, when I was in other offices, if something happened like this, there was a, hat passed around, people threw some money in, and that's what was given. Because there wasn't a line item for gifts.
Would you like to think about it? Because I'll move to table it.
How much is in that line item?
$500, right?
So we're just gonna exhaust the line item
So,
at 500
well,
bucks.
He made the motion for the purpose of discussion. And
Would you go for audit?
I think $100.
How about I throw in a free car wash?
Yeah, I think $100 is a more appropriate
Yeah,
level.
I think $100 is more appropriate, but I'd like to wait until, we can think about
Okay.
it. I mean, yeah.
We'll table
I
it.
move that it be tabled.
Thanks.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The other thing is, borrowing our use, it gives an opportunity for someone to give us a call and talk about it, so when they watch the
Right,
TV,
when you walk in next
which
week.
is the way it's designed.
Give them public input.
Last year, folks, remember that we did a Kim Ayers Award. If there's anyone that you think is appropriate, get back to us. We need to know by Monday, May 8th. It was Dusty Davies last year. She was quite surprised.
Yeah.
Think about it, okay? Department of Revenue. This is their update that our median ratio for land, buildings, and housing is 98.7%, which is pretty healthy, pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
This is just for our information. Have you folks read it?
I've seen it.
I did look through it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're actually in pretty
We had
good shape.
we had a rotation of assessment anyway, don't we?
Yes.
So that's still
Yes,
viable.
yes. About every property, about every 4 or 5 years
Right.
gets done.
Does different zones.
And that allows everything to stay current
Yeah.
and makes it fair for all of our properties. Draft audit, FYI, Jack Widmer okayed the audit. Community action report, this is just a follow-up from Rod Wood, that the median ratio is 98.7, goes with that document. Mike Izzard from Lakes Region Planning. This was some information I got. If you remember, Lakes Region Planning every year does the scoring for all the projects within the two-county area on the side of the lake. And everything went according to Hoyle. Two interesting things. Tufton Borough, Route 109A and 109. Technically, it doesn't apply because we haven't had anyone die there in the last 10 years. However, riding around with Mark Howard, riding around with the state people, they agree that this is a challenging intersection, both vertical and horizontal geometry. It may be a candidate for some type of systematic Y intersection improvement being considered through a highway safety improvement program. I don't know how many times, folks, I've seen someone almost clipped there making that hairpin turn. Isn't it nice to know that even the state's going, yeah, there's an accident waiting to happen. The other issue is the roadway flooding associated with safety concerns currently being discussed by the town in District 3. This is in Northwood Narrows. Mark Howard actually met with the people. I was there, and they are starting this year 13,040. Excuse me, that's incorrect. They're going to be starting with some repairs there to correct the situation.
Before they repave.
Yes.
Right,
yeah. What's interesting is the scoring that we did for just our region, and we're competing for dollars. It was $13,000. So the state allows scoring of these different planning groups. This is a thank you note for Officer Cook. Did you folks read it?
yeah.
The lady doesn't really want her name done. Karen, can you make sure the chief gets a copy of that, and also a copy goes in the officer's file?
Yes.
Inventory of property. This is just a transfer within the family trust, so there's no money exchanged. This is on Little Bear Island, it's just a trust, same thing. This is on Durgan Road. just trust assignments. This is for 109 Tuftonboro Neck Road, the sale of land for $30,000. That's what it's appraised for. This is a sale of property, 36 Tuftonboro Neck Road, for $106,400, and it's appraised at $157,000. This is 1A Lady Slipper Drive, sale $477,500. It was assessed for $355,000. This is correspondence from the cemetery trustees on the sextant job description. There was a question mark. You want to address it?
Yep. It's, of course, the cemetery trustees are now going to be looking for a new sexton. And they apparently updated the job description, but it talks about money going into the town general fund until such time as a warrant article for its placement of special fund is passed. Well, that already happened in March, so I'm guessing that didn't get caught in the update. So we do have a special fund for that. So.
And Karen, can you help out the cemetery trustees getting that
Sure.
taken care of? This is the cemetery trustees draft minutes for April 17th. You'll like this, sir. This was the roundtable energy purchasing done with the other boards of selectmen. We met at the fire station, April. And there were two topics of interest, were health insurance and energy purchasing. And at the last meeting, it was agreed that our homework assignment was to focus on energy purchasing. Jeff Hayes, Executive Director of Lakes Region Planning, made a presentation on a rather new energy savings program out of the Nashua region. Section B is frequently asked questions. Section C is the copy of the Nashua aggregation overview, the project history, and estimated savings. Item D is the timeline, if we're interested in going in on this project. Item E is a sample of the memorandum of understanding, the contract. I'd like to pass this on to you. We sign a contract for 1 year. It is parallel to what we signed for the purchase of fuel oil and gasoline, set for a 1-year price. It covers all current meter locations for 1 year. We could not have the transfer station on the list and then halfway through the year remove it from the mix by putting solar power online, but we could remove it at the end of next year's contract. What is needed from the Board of Selectmen is an itemized account number, service location, rate, and kilowatt demand used for FY66. Would you like to follow up on this? It may only be a couple of thousand or maybe 6,000 that we save, but it's interesting. It is part of saving. All set on that?
Yep.
Certificate of completion, Officer Cook, using telephone records to identify evidence of criminal activity. Charter Communications, former Time Warner, has sent us a check for $5,718.41 that was deposited. That's the franchise fee. More correspondence from Time Warner Cable and now Charter Communications. Talks about is now a legal entity. This has been copied to Rex and the Ag Committee, and it's a maintenance workshop for parks and areas like that. This is Tufton Borough Free Library, the year-to-date statistics. Legislative bulletin. Do you see anything of interest in here?
No.
This is news link from your source of local government, New Hampshire Municipal Association. I didn't find anything of interest. This is from the Lakes Congress, just an update on registration for their meetings. This is to the selectmen. It's a local energy solutions newsletter for April, talking about workshops that are available. This is correspondence concerning Steinmans and requests for emails. Has that been resolved, Karen?
Well, those are the things that you met with people about today, I guess.
Yeah. That'll go in the Steinman file?
No, that's a question about,
Oh, it's just an FYI about some questions about, yeah.
Okay.
And she got a
That's all.
copy of it.
Okay,
Yep. Just for you folks for FYI.
okay. Tufton Borough Selectman from Susan Weeks. Talked about our computers are all networked with BizHub, so we don't need any other printers. I don't know when the town is due for a new copier, but they should look at more networking and fewer printers. Our BizHub doesn't use anywhere near the amount of toner we used in our printers. Copying costs. Drinking Water Solution Protection Conference from New Hampshire DES. This is Energy Star EPA webinar for tracking and managing waste. This is from Dave Jeffers, Lakes Region Solid Waste Roundtable. A copy's gone to Clay. It's the Lakes Region Solid Waste Roundtable. And it has the April, May, and June dates. By the way, on a side, 3 selectmen at the energy meeting roundtable talked about Clay's presentation in Meredith. They're having him come to their town to work with their guys. So isn't it nice to know that we have a good department head there? This is Public Works Net objects within right-of-way. A question from Kurt Bloomquist. This is a wetlands permit application for tax map 14, block 3, lot 14. It's to install one temporary seasonal dock on the property to be used between May 1st and November 1st. The dock will be standard size, 4 feet wide by 40 feet long, to be used for one boat. It will be an aluminum frame with stabilizer supports. I know it doesn't need our signature, it's already been approved. This is the 4th annual Salt Symposium from Public Works. Has a copy been sent to Jim?
Which one was that one?
Okay.
The salt?
Yep. This is drinking water protection from New Hampshire DES. On May 18th, the Department of Environmental Services will be holding its drinking water conference in Concord. I believe the Conservation Commission is going. And one of the things they're talking about is PFCs and other emerging contaminants. Remember, we added it to the transfer station. Energy Star for commercial buildings and industrial plants. This is Lakeside, a quarterly publication for New Hampshire Lakes Association. This is draft for the Planning Board, April 6 minutes. This is Planning Board minutes, March 2nd, that have been approved. This is to Karen, please find the attached list of computers and servers for the town, police and fire. He is trying to get the information from the transfer station. Some of the installation dates are best estimates. As we talked about, he has some recommendations about antivirus program, etc. That is from Tom Albert, Computer Port. You know, this was copied to Jim, pavement maintenance and rehabilitation. Who should attend? Road agents. This is another Energy Star, upcoming training opportunities. This is Councilor Joseph Kenny's schedule. This is correspondence from New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. And a friend of yours, Sheila St. Germain, has retired. You probably remember her from your days with the county. Tammy St. Jolinus is taking over for her. She did a lot to help cities and towns. New Hampshire Lakes Association, this is their shorelines, their monthly newsletter. This is from the University of New Hampshire, coffee and conversations out of the Public Administration Program and the Bureau of Education. The purpose is to discuss topics of interest to members. And the New Hampshire State Police will be there talking about immigration, refugee, and the international community. This is correspondence from Public Works Net. It talks about programs that are available at the Technology Transfer Center at UNH. It does surveys. Any other correspondence to come before the board? Any other business? Karen, have we missed anything?
I think I just might need a little guidance on how to respond to Betsy Frago's request, but I don't know if that's something.
Do we want to take public input first, or do we want to bring up Betsy Frago? It's our request.
I thought Betsy left.
She did, yeah.
Were we going to make some decision?
Well, I think we have to review the files that she's looking at.
Yep.
I just want to make sure I understood that correctly, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right, do we want to do that Friday morning? That makes sense to...
Sure.
I mean, we're...
They're going to use signing checks anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
What time Friday morning? 10 o'clock?
Sure.
That's fine.
Could we spend a few minutes on that issue, and can we spend a few minutes on unsealing the minutes?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
They need to visit Brown Road. Should we do it independently and then?
I have no problem with we go as a group. And do you have a problem with that?
As long as it's posted.
Yeah, we have to post it.
As long as it's
Yeah.
posted and as long as there's an opportunity for anybody in the public who wants to go.
Sure.
So,
We've done that before on our write-arounds.
right.
Can you type up an agenda? It is the review of the right to know. And is that in public or private?
No, we'd have to be
That'd have to be a non-public.
non-public, and then you'd let the public in on it after you
Yes.
got in the meeting.
Right.
The second item is the unseal the minutes. Is that
Right.
public or
That's
non-public?
That's,
That's public.
Well, we could
No, it's-
discuss them,
it's
and
it's
then we go,
non-public, and then
right,
after the
if we're
unseal is public.
releasing them, we
Right.
release them in a public meeting.
Okay. And then we'll probably take, 15 minutes on both of those items. And then the third thing is we will go up to Brown Road, and I have no problem just leaving from there. We need to come back
There we go, where?
at the end of the meeting.
Oh, the end of the meeting, adjourn the meeting
Adjourn the meeting.
in the field.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
I have no problem with it limiting it to those three things.
Yeah, we can all drive individual cars.
Sure.
So we
Right.
might talk about stuff behind people's back.
That's right.
Stuff.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. So that's Friday, starting at 10.
Okay.
Here. Yeah.
Public input. Thank you for waiting.
Let Chris go.
So I can go?
Yes.
Two quick things. At the very beginning, when the fire chief spoke, I'm a little concerned. Chip, you brought up a really good point. The truck doesn't have many miles on it. What did he use to gauge the life expectancy? Was it a book? Was it a recommendation? That sort of thing, if that's something that you could find out. And quickly, while you guys were all talking, I went online and just was Googling those, because he said he couldn't find anything, couldn't, find. I went to like 4 immediate websites that were selling used fire trucks with that particular description, so it makes me a little concerned that maybe not a lot of due diligence is being paid. When they said that was in 1986, it was the last thing sold, that's fine, but this is a 2002 with 38,600 miles. It just, I know you're gonna look into it, but it just raised some concerns for me, for sure. Like I said, I ended up pulling up 3 websites. One was an F550, it was a 2005, had 21,000 miles on it, and it looked very similar to, what our rig looks like. The other one was a 2002 F350 with 55,000 miles on it, and I was just a little concerned. It doesn't have that
What were they
much.
asking for this?
Well, the F550, it was a 2005 with 21,000 miles. They were asking 60 grand. The 2002 was a 350 with 55,000 miles. They were asking 30 grand. So it's one thing to go by the recommendation of a book, but if the thing hasn't used its life out, why are we purchasing something that we could still potentially use? But that's just a concern from a citizen that, I think we need to maybe sharpen our pencils a little bit more. The other thing is, I don't know what the road agent's schedule is, but Federal Corner Road, not up at the corner of Brown Road and Federal Corner Road, but Federal Corner Road hasn't had any real maintenance done for a significant amount of time at all. The cracks are now, there's been no sealing, no nothing, so if in your travels, talks, discussions, that would be fabulous.
You're talking up toward where you are.
The whole road. The only place that anything has been done in recent time is down at the corner of Brown Road on Federal Corner, right up there by the end where it turns to dirt.
Right.
But and if you want to go from argument's sake, from North Line all the way down 109, nothing's been done. I mean, no sealing, no nothing for years. So I don't know if he's got that in the works, but that's it. I tried to be fast.
As Lloyd mentioned,
Finally.
yes, indeed, the cemetery trustees are looking for a sexton. There's enough of the job description on the website, I think, to give anybody an idea what needs to go. And we're meeting again on May 2nd at 5:30 in the Conservation Commission office out front. There will be an ad in the newspaper, which should be coming. Charlotte Allen is working on that. And we would love to talk with anyone who's interested. In the meantime, I'm filling in. So anybody that needs to get a hold of me, Karen's very good about knowing where I am and how to get a hold of me. She's doing a great job of coordinating for us. So anyone that might have any interest in this, please let us know, because truly by law, we're not supposed to do it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I won't need cemetery trustees anytime soon, but,
Anybody else?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Who are you, sir?
Couple things on the schedule. 5/5, Skip Hurt's gonna meet and talk at the library. Don't we have a meeting over in Moltenboro with your roundabout group, like we just had in the meeting? Is there a clash in schedules over in Moltenboro? I thought 5/5 rang a bell, so I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
I think that's at night.
Moltenboro's at night and Skip's during the day. Okay, fine. This one's, as I'm listening to the whole meeting tonight, really quick, and it's just a comment and opinion of mine, where Chip is new, okay, and Bill had mentioned it before. You, the people of this town, that govern this town presently, are responsible basically for anything, any actions or present litigation or present things that are going on as a whole. I don't think you can disassociate yourself with some of the issues going on. Explain, I get the impression when Bill was talking about, and I know nothing about Brown Road, okay? We know that a decision was made by another selectman that's not here, but you still carried the baggage with it. It's just an opinion, it's just the way I saw it come across. Public comment, okay? This may have worked well over in the county where we'd come in the morning and we would give our comments, and then they would start the meeting. But then there was interaction during the course of the meetings, and David Babson was the biggest one before he became a commissioner. He had all kinds of issues to talk, and so were some other people. I don't know how well it's going to work over here. My only comment would be, if you say something during the course of the meeting, I don't know if I'm going to remember it 1 week or 2 weeks later unless I write it down and bring my notepads with me to start the conversation all over again. So it's just a thought, okay? And last but not least, do I have to be here on Friday? No. Okay, I just want to cover the bases, that's all. Thank you very much.
Before I leave, is there any paperwork in here you folks need to review? I know you did a welfare case.
Yeah.
So
I've gone through all of them.
each of you will review it individually, right?
Yeah, I didn't, in the selectmen's update,
Mhm.
I mean, all I can really say is that I did some welfare cases.
That's right.
Yes.
So I don't want you to think I didn't do
No.
anything.
Well, no,
But I can't tell anybody anyway.
that's, you know, we each have a different committee, different job to do, and that's your job, so.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Oh,
Sorry, I did have a.
Are you fixing your camera again?
Yeah, no. About the public comment, I think it's good to have a period at the beginning of the meeting so that people who come to the meeting with a specific thing that they want to address or ask you about, so they don't have to. We've been here now for 3 hours, so it's very. It's good for you to allow those people to speak first. So thank you for trying that out for a month.
Sure.
But I have the same concern with Joe, and I don't want to sort of. I appreciate that you're changing the way public input is, so I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. But if you could also do one at the end so that people can ask questions about things that happened during the meeting, because otherwise, if you don't write it down, nobody's going to remember. And I also just want to say, it was really good the way you, and you've done this for several meetings, Lloyd, I want to thank you for opening up to people during the meeting. And like today, when you said, does anybody have anything to say about Brown Road? A few people did. Nobody took the opportunity to start talking about something else, you know. So if you open it up like that, I think we're all going to talk about the specific issue. So, so again, thanks for trying something different with public input. That's good. I do have two other things quickly. The Special Olympics donation. I will go home and donate $25 of my own money to Special Olympics. Why don't you guys all do the same? That's $100. maybe the rest of us can. And then, you can put a link on the website and say, anybody in town who wants to donate however much you want in honor, here, go to Special Olympics website and do it yourself. I mean, that's a good way to do it, and probably end up donating a lot more money in his honor that way. So I'm going to go home and do that. Why don't you all go home and do that too? The other thing, and I don't mean this as a criticism, but why exactly do you read the correspondence? Just because it took like 35 minutes, and I guess that's because you didn't have a meeting for 2 weeks, so it piled up. Again, I didn't mean that as a criticism. I was just thinking in terms of best use of time for the meeting. I don't know if there's a requirement that you do that. And then we don't have any type of roadside big trash pickup in town, do we? Like where people put trash out
It's paid for by the town.
No.
Not that the town pays for it, but there's Tufton Road.
There's a number of guys who pick up trash.
I just asked because maybe you've noticed this. There's somebody put a bunch of couches out on the by the road.
Oh, that's, not like that.
Yeah.
But there is a road cleanup day.
Yeah, it was last Saturday.
Earth Day was
Yeah, it was past
traditionally the
Saturday.
day.
Yeah.
So, and everybody takes care of their own frontage. But as far as the sofas are concerned, I'm not sure we have any.
I think those
I mean, they're on their property.
Right, and they're there
But in the
because
right of way.
somebody's giving away, okay?
Yeah.
So if they don't disappear after some period of time, then they're gonna have to haul them off to the transportation.
It'll be rolling.
Yeah.
It's been raining on them for like a week and a half.
They need to put some money along the deal, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, that was it for me. Thank you guys.
Yeah, as far as the correspondence is concerned, I don't know that there's any regulation that needs to get read. One thing that we could possibly do is, if there's something really important, obviously, you bring it up, but we have to read the correspondence or review it. Discuss whether or not we had any issues with anything in the correspondence file. We'll leave the correspondence file open, it's public information. I mean,
Right.
if you want to read every letter we get, or most of the letters we get, you can.
There's probably been 4 or 5 instances in 5 years where I've sat here after the meeting is over because a citizen wanted to go through that file, which is their right.
And
I think as a matter of course, the correspondence has been reviewed in the meeting so that people know what all is there. If they want to come look at, hey, I want to see that newsletter, then they know that we've
The only thing is, it has to be reviewed and read by a quorum of the selectmen before the public can read it. That's the only quirk in the law.
Okay.
Right.
And again, I didn't mean it as a criticism.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about use of time. So
Yeah.
maybe you can make public a summary of these
Right.
are. I mean, Karen has to compile the folder anyway. Maybe she can
Right.
just do a list of
Could
this
be
is
in
the
the
correspondence.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the minutes as,
Right.
Yeah.
everything's noted in the minutes.
Yeah. So.
I just wanted to say in the past years, there were times back in the Stockman days and even Chip's days, you wouldn't even get the correspondence. It'd go bang, 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 bang. What the hell are you talking about? Okay, so I have to go interrupt the select and say, five correspondences ago, you said something. What does that mean? This guy here, he tells you everything. I know it takes a long time, but there's some interest. So that's the other side of the coin. Thank you for me interrupting. My wife sent out an SOS. She's looking for me.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe says his motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're missing dinner, you're missing dinner.
She thought I went out someplace without her.
Oh, she thought you went to dinner.
Yeah.
All right.
Now,
Gentlemen.
punished enough.